specific. No, let's stay.
Yeah, as long as it looks there. Right.
But you tell me if you ever have a problem.
Oh, hold on, make sure it's not this.
Actually.
Oh, I'm sorry. On there's a switch.
I see it. I got it. Ready to test? Ooh.
Okay, back here. Go ahead.
Testing. Test. I'm not there. I'm back. I'm there. I'm gone. We have a lot of people here because I expected none.
Good. That's great. It's good expectation.
Okay. Testing.
Okay, what do you need now?
Testing.
Yes.
I can do it from the front of the house if I need to.
So good time to take a breath. There we are.
Please.
Day 4, for those of you who have been here all weekend. All right.
Let's not take a chance. So I need a little pencil because I don't want, I'll find one over here. And I'll probably, before I'm done, kill myself on this wire.
It's your E40 window.
Here you go.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Is it your proper thing?
It is.
There you go. You're in your shot.
So I
Okay.
have the option of advancing from here to initiate.
Yeah, you can do either one. I just heard just like, which major check your thing. One, yeah, one goes with the other. Did you go to the next slide? Did you go to the next slide? Yeah, there you go. You can control there either way.
Thanks.
Okay, wow.
Sorry for the delay.
What's your first name?
Matthew.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
Dean
it.
Matthew. God, he's been the man of the hour all weekend long.
Whenever you
Do you want to sit there?
Okay.
Huh?
Are we all ready?
Water, is this yours or not?
But you make sure you have some.
I won't.
Okay.
We'll wait.
You set?
Do you want to come closer?
I would love to, but I think I'm going to sit here and be the gatekeeper, if that's okay.
You're going to what?
Be the
I'm gonna sit here
gatekeeper.
and be the gatekeeper, if that's okay.
No. I want you to, you're probably the most important person in the place. I want you close. And I don't think that they're going to get a battering ram and
Okay.
charge us.
I need to answer one question
Sure.
real quick and look something up to my colleague, and then I'll be ready.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you. Okay, so what else is there? We're going to have feedback. So, okay, so, and I do get pretty loud. And I really appreciate this, that it amplifies my voice. It should be easier for you. This screen was good. This is going to work, everybody, but it's still too small. We really should have had 82-inch monitor, 85-inch monitor or something. But this is what we got. I had no budget, or I would have brought in what I wanted. Okay, so first of all, it's a privilege. It's a privilege to meet everybody. I'm very bad at names. My name's Marko Rodin. I haven't begun. I won't begin till I get the signal. Everybody came here for different reasons. I don't know why you're here. If I disappoint you, tell me. And I'll do my best to try. When I get closer to this, this is the one. So don't move within this. That's the secret. Okay.
What if you put them in front of them?
I'm fine.
You're good. Stay within the zone.
Stay within the zone. I'm in the zone.
Right.
Okay. So So we know I should have been more prepared. We know that I should have better equipment. Not the equipment here, but I like big screens is what I'm referring to, because it's easier for you. And you don't know the massive amount of preparation that went into this talk in the last month by Lisa. And the other thing you don't know is I'm really not into speaking publicly with people. You would think I want to, but the subject matter, and because the basics are easy to explain. The principles, the axioms, the fundamental verities of it are easy to explain. But what I've assimilated, my perspective, how I have advanced it is very hard. Now, if I hadn't been working with Lisa, and Lisa has kept me on task on this presentation for the last month, I would have been studying quantum mechanics, computer science, explaining how to make this into a perfect superconducting, perfect computer that can do anything, obsolete to everything known to man. Windows, Apple. But I can't, because this presentation, this was the priority. And I don't even read the news. I open it, file it, save it, back it up, and I'm hoping I'm going to get to it. I'm behind in the news for a month even. I don't keep up with anything because of this presentation. Are we ready?
I'm ready, whenever you are.
She's ready. But you can't see the board. Oh, you can see it. You have it right there. Okay.
Content.
Okay.
Good luck.
All right. So I'm going to say it again. Lisa gets all the blame if this fails. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I knew.
Okay.
Blame it on me. So I was saying that what I've tried to do in this conversation is not only cover some of the basics, but explain the impossible stuff, where I'm coming from. So I don't like to talk with people anymore, and because I need to just be alone and talking to the camera and videotape myself. So I approved me speaking here to create the requirement to create a presentation. And everybody rose to the challenge, the people around me. I deliberately put us under a deadline so that we would preserve and document my work. Because my work, although it's been on the internet for decades, doesn't even barely touch what this discovery is. So this presentation is a first. It's going to be a first in every regard. You're going to see a perfect hologram. You're going to see what controls a black hole. You're going to see you're going to understand. Oh, I was supposed to be introduced by our MC. Where is she? There she is. So I'm done for the minute. All right. Well,
But she's nice. She didn't interrupt me.
how nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing on this fine Monday morning?
Oh, awesome.
Post-conference.
Yeah.
How many of you are here all weekend?
Right here.
Great. How many first time this weekend? Love it.
And you know, it's really interesting because this is the 17th annual Conscious Life Expo.
Wow.
And so I have been here for 17 years as one of the founders of this event, and I watched it grow for 17 years. And it's so exciting to welcome all the new people that have been here this year. And many have come because of speakers like we have this morning with us here. New information that has never been shared before. Wide breadth of body, mind, spirit, multidimensional, multi-generational, multilingual. I love that about Conscious Life Expo. You are the reason why we're here. Always know that. Without you, without the audience, we wouldn't be here. This year we had Gaia filming a lot of events. This event will be available. It is being filmed. It will be available within a couple of hours after it occurs today. So you can all bring home this information, which is great. Is that okay with you?
How much is the DVD?
$10.
And who's filming it? Is it an in-house crew or Gaia?
It's the in-house crew.
That's fine.
Okay, good. All right, as long as we have that cleared. Okay, so this is your opportunity. Now, we're going to go over past the 1:30 mark by a little bit so that you get your full 2.5 hours, because I have a feeling that what we're going to hear today is going to be unique. Never before, right? Marko Rodin, biomagtronics. And, you know, from the quantum to AI, beyond, beyond, beyond. I think you're in for an amazing morning. So put your hands together, give a warm, wonderful, conscious life welcome to Marko Rodin. Thank you, Marko.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, it's accurate. It's never before in Western civilization by Western academia. This discovery is timeless. It's existed forever. It'll exist forever in the past, forever in the future. It usually is a part of most civilizations and cultures and gets lost by the upheavals of the changes of geography and not only do we always talk about the conspiracy of our governments and our society, but there's a conspiracy going all the way up to the top in the other worlds, in heaven. And because apparently when this knowledge is revealed, they say that everybody came rushing out of their chambers, and when the second letter was pronounced, when the first letter was pronounced, they all rushed out of their chambers. This is in the hidden words. And when the second letter was pronounced, they all fell down upon the dust. And then there was heard from the inmost shrine, thus farther and no farther. And the saying is, verily we bear witness to what they have done and now are doing. And what that's alluding to is the third letter, which is the Aleph, which in Arabic, Farsi, Hebrew, Farsi is Persian, the major religions, Zoroastrianism, the Quran, the Bible, the Torah. I'm a Bahá'í faith, whose scriptures are in Arabic and Persian. All those languages always have an Aleph, and their Aleph always represents God. And they don't have any vowels written in the language. They only have the vowel symbols, diacritical marks. And so all their alphabet is consonants. And it turns out that even the Aleph is a consonant. That's a little tricky. And it turns out that if you get the precise mystic intonation of the most great name of God, that you will come to know what you have not known of all the states of sanctity. You will receive divine guidance. You will reach the apex of consciousness. It's supposed to be bestow immortality without death. By the way, I'm just winging it, because she inspired me. And that's why I'm here today. Because I'm not disciplined enough to do things that don't interest me. And this topic is my first love. So the topic is the most great name of God. Now, so the most holy thing in all those religions, your religions, everyone's religions, is in the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, is the name of God. You desecrate that, and it's not the word God, because in those languages, it's a sound, and they say it permeates the universe. The universe was created after it. So all this math and everything we're doing, I'm claiming to have decrypted, to literally figured out God's icon. I have figured out, I'm going to be showing you God's brainwave encephalogram pattern, because the whole universe is permeated by it. We live in the kingdom of emanation. Everything's emanating. We're all interacting with each other. A solar system doesn't look like it's connected because there's so vast the distance of the planets, but we see it from an overview from Earth. We see that it is indeed moving in a spiral. It's a vortex. Whether it's imploding or exploding, it's still, we know the pathway things take. There's only so many kinds of galaxies for the most part, and they follow the same mathematical trajectory. And so the name of God, I discovered, explains that pathway. All I'm going to be sharing with you is the pathway that energy flows as it moves into the future. What I'm doing is so predictive that it obsoletes everything in computer science. We're going to be looking at all the branches of math. We're looking at every known function, every known calculation occurring in the single model. And if there was anything in this model that was duplicated, it would be discarded, this model, because it would be redundant. If there's anything in this model that's omitted, it would be discarded. If there was ever a time when this model is wrong, it would be discarded. One of the hardest things to do in teaching this discovery to engineers and scientists, to experts, be it professors or corporate engineers, especially security experts in computers, especially hackers in computers, because you would think that they're cutting edge. They have to be to protect their computers, their clients. They're not. Because they all were taught in school, starting with basic arithmetic, because math was standardized, so we can all communicate whether it's right or wrong, it was standardized. They were taught notions, beliefs that are complete BS. You're never better than your equipment, your tools. And so everyone here was taught in the elementary school, I'm sure, with no exceptions, that we count in base 10 because we have 10 fingers. And then you can be, in computer science, you can go from the binary code to hexadecimal, base 12, base 15, total BS. Because the base 10 system is generated by 3. Because 3 is a prime, and my whole work is based on prime numbers. And then when we're done talking today, you're going to understand, by the way, prime numbers is what we use today for all bank wire transfers at night, all military communications. So for this discovery, I'm letting you know that it's based on prime numbers, and they're based on prime numbers that are squared, just like the inverse square law. And the name of this discovery is called prime number squared, the creation equation. And it turns out that the first true prime number, and this was, by the way, I have to say that this has been done by my friends, extended family, personal acquaintances, professors, engineers, my team. So everything I'm repeating to you actually is not exclusively my own discovery. This has been a group effort. And so it turns out that a true base number counting system that works on all axes, 3D and 3D space, up, down, right, left, front, back, has to be generated by a prime. In the base 10 system, so we're going to use as the control for this class, we're going to use base 10. I'm going to show you base 26, which is the next true prime number base system. And I will show you also base 50, which is the next one after, the third one after base 10. Because how did I get to base 50? Does everyone know how I did it? Because the third prime after 3, we're not dealing with 1 and 2. 2 is not really a true prime. The number 7 squared makes mod 49, that's a base counting system, base 50. Why is 49 and 50 two different things? Because 0 is not a number. So mod 49 is base 50, but because 0 is not a number, any base is always one number less than that base. That's why base 10 is called modular 9. It's also called radix 9, because it's not 1 through 10, it's 0 through 9. Now, every now and then we come across a saying, and bear in mind we're all talking math here, and I'm not a mathematician. I preface this about sound. In my field, self-taught, I call biophysical harmonics, which has to do with how to tap into and harness the underutilized remaining hypothetical 90% potential of the brain. I'm interested in intelligence. I'm interested in inspiration, divine guidance, communion with God, communion with each other, how the brain's an antenna, transmits and receives. And so I'm not a mathematician. I knew I wasn't saying the name of God correctly. I heard everybody else around me, all the different religious practitioners, the rosary beads, the chanters, the mantras, meditating and saying the name of God, and I recognized they had hit a glass ceiling. They don't want to say that, but they had. Because they weren't doing it right. They were doing it too slow, and they didn't realize that it was having such a pronounced encompassing impact on them. And it's not arbitrary. Some people think you can meditate on a candle, you can meditate on silence. Everything is in religion. Worship, dietary laws, meditation, and of course, the most sacred part is that holy name of God that brought the universe into being. And in religion, there's two things. There's the name of God and there's the Word of God, and they are distinct. The Word of God, as I understand it, and bear in mind everything I'm saying in this talk is my own spin. The Word of God created the name of God. And the Word of God is called the emblem of God because he's put just a smidgen, just the smallest little trace of his own self, just a mere emblem in it. I barely comprehend anything I'm talking about. Okay, so I will begin. That's why we do it. Oh, I have a riddle, another riddle for you. This was taught to me by Renge. She ran for decades the oldest and only metaphysical bookstore in Honolulu. Serious Books. It's not in business anymore because Border Books, when they were there, put them out of business because they were much bigger. And she once, and I was watching all these people coming out of the store. Everybody came into the store. And she turned to me and she said, "Why is a doctor a doctor?" Does anyone know why a doctor is a doctor? Because a doctor is trying to heal themselves. That's why a doctor is a doctor. That's what she said to me. And I found that to be very true. So I would think that the reason everyone's in this conference and coming to Whole Conscious Life Expo is because we're all pursuing that that ephemeral blessing that exists. Okay, so here we go. It's biometronics. That's the discovery in the center, repeating the A. Where's Indy? I will tell you when I'm ready. I'm not ready yet. It's a Marko Rodin presentation. I'm actually reading this to you, like Edgar Allan Poe. So biometronics is combining magnetism, electronics, and biology. Why? And my company is biometronics.com. Because I've refused to make weapons, okay? And everything I do makes a wonderful weapon, and I'm not willing to go there. And so I'm trying to present this discovery to you in the most positive, beneficial, to help humanity way I can. And so that's, whenever I can, I apply it to biology. Because the elimination of disease, elimination of starvation is my goal. The elimination of misery and suffering. Next, please. We only have a 30-hour slide presentation here. A fountain of numbers. Most of this stuff comes to me in my sleep, believe it or not, or just coming out of it. And of course, a lot of it comes to me when I'm awake. Vortex Based Mathematics actually came from a friend. But a fountain of numbers is what I do. It's just a spray. And I found what numbers are, where they came from. I was able to prove that numbers are real. Nature's expressing herself with numbers. If I talk like I'm just kind of like spewing it out, I am. Because to me, when I'm describing it to you, I've done since I was a teenager. I decrypted that symbol when I was 17 or 18 already. I had already decrypted the most great name of God. I'm 63. This is a little bit old to me now. I've been doing it a long time. That's one of the reasons I haven't done a public talk, I don't know in how long, at least 5 years. And then it was just, I don't know where. I talk all the time. On the way here, our taxi driver, believe me, he's an expert on this now. That's a 1800 year, in 1800, that's by Blake, the painting. He's touching where the 9 is. That is very significant that those 2 points don't touch. That is number 9. That's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That is the lazy 8 infinity symbol. There are 2 different colors, the green. This is a triangle, this is red. Of course, this is 396. We're all familiar with Tesla's quote. If you knew the secret of 396, you would know the secret of the 369, he says. You would know the magnificence of the universe. There's so much to know about all this. It's very significant. That's where the missing 0 is. Only 9 lines up over 0. Today I will be explaining something that will not really click with you. It really won't, unless you're an engineer. Unless you're the finest, and my students are the finest of the finest, bar none. Okay, they come from Microsoft. They come from the biggest General Dynamics, the biggest weapons manufacturer in the world. Everybody has to come through my door if they want to be a master of their technology. And what I'm about to explain is just one thing. That 9 lines up over that 0 vertically, but no other number lines up over anything else vertically. Everything else lines up horizontally, except nothing lines up with the 0 either. So this is the relationship of how nothing creates everything, how the universe was brought into being. You're all very patient with me because when I listen to the claims I make, it's just unbelievable. Okay, and it's in a circle. Okay, next, please. Spirit is irresistible, penetrates everything, and is the source of all motion, vibration, and time. Why did I start with that? I have found a numerical formula for spirit. Okay, so yes, I know when and where spirit is in 3D space, and more importantly, I know where it's not. Because if spirit was everywhere all at the same time, we'd have logjam. The trees going down the river would all come together and block it, okay, that are being passed from the lumber mill down. You can't have everything everywhere blocking it, okay? So spirit has a phasing. It has an activation sequence. It has a timing. That's true. I'm not even lightly embellishing it, okay? And I'm using it as a work wheel. I'm tapping into it. It's like the windmill or the, what are those things called in the water? Paddle wheel. Okay, I'm tapping into spirit. And there's a numerical formula for it. So what am I doing? I'm getting rid of calculus. I'm getting rid of equations. Or I'm giving them numerical equivalence. because calculus is never any better than the person speaking it. Whereas numbers are a part of our world. They're a part of creation. They have attributes, they have physical properties, and they have a timing, which is very important. That'll be almost impossible to explain the timing tonight in this class. But timing, the relationship to geometry or to tiles or to tempo and timing is an inherent part of this discovery. So spirit is also called prana, chi, tachyon, monopole, dark energy, dark matter. It's also called soliton, Higgins, God particle. It's what everybody wants right now. It's what the big race is that everybody's looking for. I've elected to use the term they use in the scriptures, which is spirit. I could easily substitute any other name for it. Now I'm going to do a quick stop. Any questions? Please.
Will we be able to see the images on a website or in the future?
Thank you for asking. I am not worried about my well-being. So I am not copywriting anything. I am not patenting anything. I'm not requiring any NDAs. So when we're done, whoever gets this video, I hope you put it up on your YouTube channel. You do whatever you want with it. It belongs to you. I'm, in fact, doesn't belong to me, this discovery. It's not my property. I'm just doing the best I can to make sure you understand it.
So we can take a photo of if we see something we like, it's okay?
It's existed forever.
Thanks, Marko. Right on.
It's my pleasure. Next one, please. Base 10 obhatori. Now, every presentation I like to do differently, and it just so happens we're all here tonight when I'm starting my presentation on the hardest way you could ever start a presentation. And you just happen to be here for the hardest presentation of all. Congratulations, because it's really thus the easiest. So it turns out that's Humpty Dumpty, and Humpty Dumpty fell off a wall, and his eggshells fragmented into little pieces all over the place. And so what happened is that's the shape of the universe. And I pieced Humpty Dumpty back together. And there's only one number per tile. Those are called whatever you want. Penrose columns, they named them after him, Penrose tiles, when they put tiles on the sun to model the sunspots. I use these tiles to model this, where the big red boundary lines come around it. Now you see how it's good I'm explaining this to you? Because you may not have noticed those thick red lines. So you might see that I'm very slow with you. But it's deliberate, because it's my duty to make sure you don't miss anything. Everyone still with me? So these are called world boundary conditions lines, these big, thick, red stuff, okay? And these numbers, it's one number per tile. And this is a chessboard, but it's a 3D chessboard. And this shape here is called, yes, we know it's a donut, but in science they don't call it that. Torus, T-O-R-U-S. Or tori means multiple toruses. Our body was named after it. What's our body called? A toroid, human torso, T-O-R-S-O. You know what that means? It means you're getting put through the grinder. It means, because that hole is a tor. It means it's a hole. And it means that everything is either imploding into that hole or exploding out the other side. And if you don't have that hole, you're toast. It's all over, because it's always in and out. Compression, decompression. Implosion, explosion. And it's doing something else. It's thermal. And that is this talk today. It's about heat dissipation, which is the very foundation of all physics and astrophysics, because this is modeling a black hole. And nothing goes through the hole in the center, or the hole wouldn't exist. It processes, see this red line? Spirals and defines the hole by being an aperture like our eye. because there's something, I believe, emanating in this hole that's causing this hole to not close. Okay? And that's what I'm harnessing, and that's what I found. And that emanation that's shooting out of here is traveling in a straight line. You know I could talk on this picture for an hour, and you don't have that time. And I have so much more to say, but I'm going to cut my own throat and move on. So Abha torus, 18 by 36 top-down view. So it's 36 on the circumference, 18 right here. Next, please. Now, I might just come back to this stuff later on. So I think I'm going to now whip through the conference. I'm going to give you I'm going to give you a preview instead of plodding in the mud and being slow. So this is a 60-degree angle view. No number, oh, we'll do it right here. I didn't say next. 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I might add that any image of this whole presentation is, in a hologram, the whole is in the part's in the whole. Doesn't matter which you take image in this explanation. I'm laughing because I'm thinking how extraordinary it is what you're seeing there. There's no words to describe the miracle of putting those numbers into place and seeing the donut from different perspectives. You have no idea how big of a deal this is in all of our lives and mankind's. So no number can ever be used amount of times more than any other amount of times. So 7, 8, 9, 1. So if I have one 50 times here, there's got to be two 50 times. It isn't you. If you use any number more times than any other times, you've forced an outcome. You're breaking the rules. And you've always used numbers for data. And you always move numbers around. You kept the function stationary. In a store, you'll add and give a total, or you'll multiply. I discovered that numbers don't move. To quote one of my best students, he says, numbers are stationary vector interstices. They're coming from emanations. I'm not going to show you those emanations right now, or spirit, because we're just cutting through this. But I'm telling you that I haven't told you that multiples of 1 and 8 are what you use every day. So that's why I've been using it. I've been kind of sliding you into it. But I don't use 1 and 8. I'll use other multiples. Next one, please. I'll use multiples of 2. I'll use multiples of 4. I'll use multiples of 5. And you'll have to do it before we go much further. Okay. Oh, I wonder if I can turn off these lights behind me. I don't need them at all. Yeah, less lights would be better in this presentation. Anyone mind? Okay. As much as you can without, and if there's a little faint, a few ones here and there, you just blast it, and then you can turn them back on again if you want to figure out which one it is. This one's kind of hard on me up here. Still too hard on me. That one, if you can turn off, because it glares into my glasses.
But they need light for video.
Oh, do you? No, they don't. Do you?
They do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, do I?
Oh. Okay, tell her what you want.
One that was just here. There's got to be a neutral. No, on this one.
I didn't introduce Peter, but everybody, that's Peter. Okay, that's called a vortex well. That's a funnel. Now, I'm really roughhousing you guys. I play hard, and that's called having fun. Okay? What does it have to? If you don't have a funnel, you're not having fun. Okay? And that's called a vortex well. If you're not healthy, if you don't have that well. So all the most affirmative, positive words in our language are all based on the vortex. Did I push that too hard, that point, or is it obvious that that's true? It's obvious, isn't it?
It's true.
Thanks. Because I'm considered crazy. And because it seems like I'm reaching. I'm not reaching. Okay, and this is a cross-section view. Now you're looking at the numbers backwards, the inside of the torus. Next, please. So you're starting with the most beautiful images. You're starting at the top. So this is why I'm saying this is the hardest presentation, because you're getting the results, starting with the answer first. Is it there? Okay. I have to say that this artwork and everything represents probably the work of at least 50 people. So this is a huge endeavor by many people. Okay, kinetic energy waves of 9. Let's stay here for 1 second. What is kinetic energy? Newton's cradle, we all know what that is. Not really, but it's when you have those 5, 6 balls, you take one at the end, the other one comes out. Those balls are considered elastic. We know they're metal. You would never think of they're elastic. It's because of their density that they actually then are hard to compress, and so they actually resist and they bounce. And so if you take 2 balls, you get 2 out the end. Everybody knows that principle? Yeah. That's called kinetic energy. I have found how to see where spirit is, when and where. Now, we all know that that's incomprehensible. That's got to be impossible. Nobody's going to be grabbing spirit and catching it and sticking it in their pocket. But you will very shortly. Okay, next, please. Maybe not too shortly, but soon. This is a quote out of the scriptures. The key word was penetrates. I call on thee, O thou who penetrates all things. The other key word is all-seeing God, O all-seeing Lord of utterance, because that's called omniscience, okay? And that's what spirit does. It's a queen on a chessboard. She can go in any direction she wants. She's the only one. Only spirit can do that, because that's all a dimension is how something moves through space. That's all it is. Okay, next, please. Baha'u'llah. That's out of the Baha'i scriptures. So that's the symbol from the most great name of God. That's what I decrypted. Took 24 years to figure out how to make the torus out of that symbol. You see 3, 9, and 6 are completely separate. Here we have X, Y, and Z axes. This is positive X, negative X. Believe me, I could be explaining it much simpler, and I know it's so alien and foreign. Today we use the Cartesian coordinate system. We should have had an image up. We don't, of the standard Cartesian. And then I should have shown, you're supposed to show when making a presentation the present day state of the art and then how you improve over it. So I improve over it because I don't have just one positive axis or one positive z axis or one positive y axis. What I have is I have 6. I stagger them. So here's the positives coming out. So it's going 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1. Black should have been the reverse on this torus. Now that I see that, I wouldn't use this torus again. Because the white should have been out, the black should have been in, and but they're opposite direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, because positive emanation creates negative draft counter space. And so what happens is so I have my negative and positives for the same axis of 1 and 8 are vertical. So here it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's vertical. And we have a negative because here it is going out. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Are those numbers too little, or can you actually see them? You can see them? You can come closer if you really want to see it. It's up to you. I don't mind. So what happens is this is a dual coordinate Cartesian system. I'm not going to explain the multiplication series at this point. I did have one more point to make, but I already forgot it. This says W-axis, 3 and 6. I haven't explained that. Haven't explained anything yet. The zero's written backwards, forwards. There's a reason.
You see 6.
We better just go on.
You see 6.
Hmm?
You see 6.
6 axes.
Is that what you wanted to revisit? It might be in the next slide, so
There's no easy leap for me to go to the next thing, so I kind of blanked out. Okay, next, please. The dandelion puff principle, spirit's metadata contained within every number. That's really wonderful. In other words, each one of those numbers has it's a hologram, and it's an emanation coming from right here that's creating these numbers. I discovered this symbol when I was 18. See how the right and left's a mirror of this symbol? It's like a butterfly, the axis. 1 and 8 line up, 2 and 7. We'll come to that later. I knew that couldn't be a property known to man, that they missed that of present day, because you knew about the XYZ axes. You never knew about the W axis. What I'm explaining right now, I made a claim in my flyer for this talk. I am going to explain the secret of the most advanced computer that will ever be known. I'm going to explain the secret that will obsolete all PCs, all Apple computers, every operating system known to man. Before I'm done here, I will obsolete the binary code, but not yet. So this right here is horizontal. Horizontal. Something has to cause things to diskette. They even say, though you probably haven't heard this, that our universe is a flat sheet. They even say that our solar system is a saucer, it's a spiral. Something is causing this lining up. But what is so significant, even it's taken me my whole life to appreciate that this being a right angle to this is so profound, okay? And another thing I'm just telling you, but don't worry about it, is this doesn't stay x. The x then becomes here, the y becomes here, the z goes there. Everything is much more complicated than what you're seeing right here. I'm just giving you a freeze frame of time right now. The other thing is this makes a diamond in the center, which is the axis. The axis is everything. Okay, Jimi Hendrix says, bold as love, the axis, he knows everything. Everyone ever see that album with Jimmy with the cobra on the front? Mm-hmm. I grew up on that. Try and take that away from me, I'll fight you tooth and claw. So the axis is unique. It's represented by the number 9. Number 9 has a unique property. There's no other number like it because it never changes. Multiples of 9 is always itself 9. And it's the axis. And the axis is unique because it can't be over to the right or to the left. If you take a gyroscope, turn it on, it will, if this pen was spinning and wobbling, as faster it spins, eventually it would be vertical. It would be standing up. So when God talks about the Aleph, when it's written in all those languages, it's always a blade of grass. It's always upright. And they're hiding these clues. Go right ahead.
So is 9 always...
Speak a little bit louder for me now.
Is 9 always on top and on the bottom?
No. Wonderful question. 9 is on the zenith. It's the apex 9. It is, there's nothing there. And it's lined up over 0. Once we spin, so how, and this center to the circle's over here. To get the center back into the circle, we have to have motion, equilibrium.
What about the negative when you flip it? Like when it's 9...
That's not what a negative is. That's not what a negative is. It's not what a negative is. But you know what? That's a detail. And right now I'm not going into conventional stuff as much as I'm going into the solution or the answer. Go ahead, Lisa. Were you going to say something?
Is he referring to the Z-pinch? Is he referring to the Z-pinch? Maybe that's where he was coming
Just, yeah, essentially.
from. The flip ring.
The flip ring over there.
See, I never watched that video. She's been trying to get me to watch it forever.
No, I haven't seen the video. I'm just going by what you're talking about.
This is a coil. See how it's a lazy 8, infinity, never ends? This also is a coil, but you don't see it yet. This is 50% of the numbers, that's 50% of the numbers. We come to put them together. Our bodies call this mortal coil. Everything that exists on the third dimension is a coil. And coils always come in pairs. And they always counter-spiral. And they always work together. But that's another story later on. As far as what you're asking, though, the technology that will save mankind and save our planet, that will get rid of the combustion engine, that will get rid of nuclear power, believe me, I would get rid of nuclear power yesterday. I'm so much against it for different reasons. Because plutonium is the most dangerous thing ever discovered by man. In the entire universe, there's nothing more deadly than plutonium. And I'm not worried about plutonium. I don't even think man can maintain a tea kettle, let alone a nuclear reactor. We're so incompetent.
You're right.
So the thing that'll save mankind is called mirror symmetry coils. The best example of a mirror symmetry coil is the baseball. Did you know they can't have a baseball game if you were to make, say, for instance, instead of that S curve on the baseball, if you were to make it like quilt work or patchwork or something, that pitcher couldn't throw that ball. He couldn't throw a curveball. Did you know that how that S curve reacts with the air around it as it moves through air? It causes it to either go straight or spin, depending on how he grips that S curve. It's a very, very,
It's a spiral.
It is a spiral, precise spiral. And there's even more I could say, but I don't want to go there right now. So I mentioned something here. First I mentioned was equilibrium. To get the whole back into the center, everything has to move. So thus, equilibrium is different than balance. This symbol is in balance, but it is not in equilibrium. Our world is equilibrium because everything's moving around the axis. Nothing goes through the hole. Everything, when water goes down the drain, you see it makes a hole because you have to equalize the pressure on both sides. The hole has many functions and purposes. And everything defines the hole by going around the lip of the hole. Still with me? This line overlapping is not touching right here. There is a hole there. And this diamond in our culture and every culture represents perfection. That's why you give your honey a diamond ring. It represents perfection. We will continue. Oh, well, no, I'm not ahead of myself. Okay, next, I mean, stay. Positive emanation creates negative draft counter space. For every action, there are two half-opposite equal reactions. Oh, two half-opposite. Word equal should have been there. I forgot it. Okay, and we were going to show the negative for positive emanation creates negative draft counter space, but we didn't have that slide. This is only showing 50% of it. It looks like a spiral. It is not, because this is spirit emanating. It is a straight line. Only spirit can travel in a straight line. That's why Einstein's E equals mc squared is called the theory of relativity, the curvature of space-time reality. Its fundamental attribute is curvature. What's causing it to curve? You don't have curvature unless something's causing it to precess and warp. Spirit warps everything. It penetrates, reticulates, and warps everything. Okay, next slide, but I'm not going to start talking about it. We're just going to rest on it for 1 second. Kinetic waves of 9. I'm being rough on you guys. This is not an easy talk. Is this an easy talk? Not really, huh? Are you guys okay?
Yeah. Bring it.
Okay.
Bring it.
Okay. All right, so we're going to go do waves of 9. What's a wave of 9? Oops. No. Oh, we're going to go back. Oops. Oh, well. Oh, there we go. So that's 9. So a wave would be, if you try, the most common, I believe, the most famous, most number of times covers for physics books that exist, the greatest number of times, is the little drop of water, a pebble, going into the pond and it making concentric circle waves, right? We've all seen it. So 9's where the pebble's hitting, and the waves are the numbers around it going out in concentric circles. It could have been any number. It could have been 7, 2, 5, 1, whatever. So if I add up all those numbers, they will equal 9. So if I begin at the 2 and go around and equal and end on the 1 and then add it with that number in that center, if there's really, so this is a z-axis. A z-axis is perpendicular. It's tangential. In other words, if I shoot a bullet through that wall is the surface. This is the surface, and the bullet's puncturing it. That 9 is puncturing it, and it's making ripples, a waveform. So 2 plus 4 equals 6. 6 plus 3 is 9. 9 plus 8.
We have an animation for that if you want to Dan.
But I will do that. No, I know we do.
Okay.
I'm deliberately coddling them right now. 2 and 4 equals 6. 6 and 3 is, and actually I'm making them exert themselves, because then when they see it, it'll kind of be like easy. So 2 plus 4 is 6, 6 and 3 is 9, 9 plus 8 equals 8, because 9 plus 8 equals 17, 1 plus 7 equals 8. Now that, some people can't even handle that. That's called, in computers, that's actually acceptable in computer science, because they know that in computer science, any huge number has a single discrete number, single digit corollary. comparable. So sure enough, that's because any number can be reduced to a discrete number by constantly removing the modulus, which is 9. So if I had right here, what was that? 2, 4, 6, 3 is 9, 9, 8 is 17. So if I did 17 minus 9, that would have equaled 8. Do you follow that? That's called casting out 9s. That's called cross addition. I could have just written 17. I could have gone 1 plus 7 equals 8. Now, it looks superstitious, doesn't it? It looks like child's play, doesn't it? It looks like it's doomed to failure. But I'm not interested in whether it's a little number or a big number even. I'm going to take the strongest stance I can. I don't care. I'm interested in the pattern it makes. What numbers are making a pattern? And this pattern I haven't explained to you. Every single employee at Microsoft, every single employee at Apple should have known this pattern, and they don't. They've never even seen it before. Because everything they do all day is based on that pattern. Okay? Because 1 doubles to 2, 2 doubles to 4, 4 doubles to 8, 8 doubles to 16, but that's not 16 because I only use single-digit numbers because I'm looking for the pattern. I want to know what tile connects the next tile, connects the next tile, because I'm looking for a map, a street map, a guide, a rat maze. Okay? And so what is 7 doing after 8? It always comes after 8 when you go sideways or diagonal. And 5 is always after 8 by 2 steps when you go sideways or diagonal. It's because 16 doubled is 32, 3 plus 2 equals 5. I could have said 7 doubled is 14. It doesn't matter whether it's a 14 or 32. It still must equal 5. So then I'm back to where I began. 64 is 10 is 1. And not only is there one of these pathways going this way, but there's another one going in the reverse direction. 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, which equals 11 is 2. That's called doubling. It's called bifurcation. It's called a geometric progression. It is an exponent. But it does not come from any of those mathematical functions. It comes from clefting, being split in half, from spirit. Because you have 4 cells, 8 cells, 16 cells. There isn't anything in this our universe that doesn't use this principle. So everything I'm talking about, I'm saying I'm using the most fundamental principle. It's called the gut principle. Or the acronym for it is called the Grand Unified Field Theory, or gut equation. Okay, next please. So that was a quick prelude. Scripture again. I con thee, O manifest yet hidden, O unseen yet renowned, because the whole thing about this is for you to learn how to see the hidden and the unseen. O onlooker sought by all. And whatever I'm showing you, all those numbers, everything sees us at all times. I have found the all-seeing eye of God, and it's everywhere in our world. Next, please. Baha'u'llah. So, it's showing it. So there's a 9. Is something going to happen? Go ahead, let her rip. 1, 2, 4. This is called an underpinning nested vortices. It's not going to that 8 there. It's going to this 8 here when you're dealing with underpinning nested vortices. Okay, so now we took the 9 again. This is base 10 up to, and now I'm showing polarity of the numbers. What numbers have polarity? Okay, now we're seeing the waves of 9. So there's 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, 1. That will equal 9 because I'll show you. Let's go. 7, 5 is 12 is 3. 6 and 3 is 9. 9 plus 1 equals 10. 1 plus 0 equals 9. 1 plus 2 equals 3. 4 plus 3 equals 7. 7 plus 3 equals 10 equals 1. 1 plus 8 equals 9. 9 plus 9 equals 18 equals 9. This 9 is generating this waveform. So let's do this one now. Everyone still with me a little? And it doesn't matter what number you use on this map. And what am I showing? Kinetic energy. I'm showing that Newton's cradle, except I'm showing it on a hypersphere, a torus. 8 plus 4 is 12 equals 3. Now, if we had a nice automatic number counter and it was adding them up and showing them and I wouldn't have to say all this, I wouldn't like that because this is tiring. But I have no choice because we don't have that. 8 and 4 is 12 is 3. 3 plus 2 equals 5. 5 plus 1 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. 7 plus 6 equals 13 equals 4. 5 plus 4 is 9. 9 plus 2 equals 11 equals 2. 2 and 1 is 3. 5 and 3 is 8. 8 and 7 is 15 equals 6. 8 and 6, 5. 8 and 5, 4. 4 and 3, 7. 7 and 4, 11, 2. 7 and 2, 9. Plus 9 is 27 equals 9. So it's zeroing out. See, in computer science, we always say it's zeroed. It's nothing. But they're wrong. Nothing is nothing. It's not canceling out. It's everything. It's 9, but 9 is always invisible. You can't see it. Okay? So this isn't energy cancellation. This is energy survival. Okay? And now we've got a new one. Do I have to add it up? Do you believe me it equals 9? Okay. Now bear in mind I could have done it a round number, but let's keep on going. And Lisa was going to take out a lot of these. And I said, no, leave them in. Next one, please. Because I wanted you to see it with other numbers. So now we're doing 8. I like how you did this, Lisa, very much. I would have nothing today. Do you know what I'd be doing if it wasn't for this presentation? I'd be using a pen and paper. Do you know what that would be like? It'd be a nightmare. So I'm going to begin here and end here. 8 and 4 is 12 is 3. 7 and 3 is 10 is 1. 9 plus 1 is 1. 3 and 1 is 4. 4 and 3 is 7. 7 and 4 is 11 is 2. 7 plus 2 is 9. Plus 8 is 17. 1 plus 7 equals 8. So bear in mind, it doesn't matter what number you use. It always stays there. So that means that these numbers, like filings on a bungle drum, when you have sand and you put sand on a drum, it's going to make a pattern, and the pattern doesn't move. But what is moving is the functions. And I haven't even told you guys what the functions are yet, what's happening in this thing. Okay? But I'm letting you know that this thing is alive, that numbers are alive. This thing has consciousness. We are swimming in a sea of awareness, and we don't even know it. What's your name, please? Roger, I have to drag you, pull you out on the rug and drag you over the coals since you're late. Right. But go ahead.
It's okay. I'm ready.
So what was your question, please, Roger?
I temporarily think of this as some kind of wave propagation until I learn more.
And I'm sorry I have my back to you most of the talk, too.
Just sat down.
It is all wave propagation. You're 100% right. Yes, correct.
For the moment, I'll keep listening.
But it's wave propagation on all axes, x, y, and z. And those axes I double because I give one of them, instead of it being all positive on the top and all positive on the right, and then negative on the bottom and negative on the left, I keep my axis being multiplication series, and they're all of the same polarity. Essentially, I take a chessboard. And all the black are negative and all the white are positive. And you'll see what I mean as we go along with that. And then I added one more axis, which, see, you did a favor for them. Because what I was saying was, but I never finished my statements, was that in Wikipedia and on the fourth dimension and on the W-axis, when you look it up in Wikipedia, they use a tesseract and they use a hypercube. I obsolete all that. And it's so primitive. I'm using a hypersphere. And there's a saying, all roads lead to Rome. Every branch of science, everything known to man, leads to the torus, the hypersphere. Just so you know, the torus is the grand unified field theory. Just saying it.
Which is the trumpet of Gabriel.
It's loud. What is it, Roger?
The trumpet of Gabriel.
Well, I won't respond to that only because that is such a profound... No, I will respond to it. But don't do that again.
Okay.
You didn't hear me say...
No, you didn't say that.
No. In the beginning of the class, that when I start interacting with the audience, I get nothing done.
Oh.
And you don't want that. No. But I will answer the... But I'm acting very pompous. I'm going to act very haughty. I'm going to say this is the answer. I'm going to act like I'm verbatim, I'm absolute, and my word is the final word. The trumpet of Gabriel is the letter B. In religion, in the Bismillah, in the Quran, they say all of the Quran is encompassed in the beginning, opening statement in the name of God. And all that statement is connected in the first letter, which is the letter B. And they say everything in that is in the point under the B. This happens to be the most sacred, holy thing that you lighted upon. And the B, the point under the B, is called the primal point of unity, which happens to be the Z pinch, the center of the two vortices, in my estimation. And the letter B in Arabic, Farsi, Hebrew, which is abjad numerical notation, happens to be the number 2. There's only 2 numbers that connect to the number 1 in this system that I'm using for as far as diagonal, which is the number 2 and the number 0.5. In this case, it's a 5. And as you see, they're the same number, but inverted upside down. Well, you know that, okay? And when you overlap them, you get the lazy 8, the infinity. And everything is based on 2, because if you were to take so let's take the person, there's the parable, it's an old fable. The man who invented chess for the king, he was so delighted the king, he said, I'll give you anything in my kingdom you want. So the man who invented, does everyone know this story, a few of us? He said, okay, I know what I want. I want the king, I want 1 piece of grain of wheat on the first square. I want 2 pieces on the second square. I want 4 on the third square. I want 8 on the fourth square. He says, and I want that amount of wheat by the time you get to the 64th square as my reward for inventing chess. Well, by the time he got to the 64th square, it was more wheat than has ever been grown on the planet. It's impossible. It doesn't exist. Do you agree with that, Roger? That
it's a lot. I don't know that it's more than ever been grown.
Oh, you're too impartial. You're too neutral.
It was more than the kingdom had at that time.
More than the kingdom had. So that's called exponential growth. That's called 2n. And so the number 2 and the number 5 are the same symbol, and the ancients encrypted that in our symbology. Now, we have such a nice illustration for where this goes next, this conversation, that I will just say, keep going, or we'll never get through these illustrations. And I said I was going to go through this fast. So just let her rip. I won't even count them out. Now we're using the 1 emanating. I won't even count them out. Let her rip. Next. Let her rip. Base 10. Let her rip. Because this whole torus is just emanating. Everywhere it's emanating. Never thought I could not talk with each slide for 10 minutes, did you? Let her rip. Waves of 9 reveals the latent potential energy waiting to be harnessed and released by the Rodin coil hypersphere. So my last name is Rodin, and Vortex Based Mathematics demonstrates the existence of this latent potential energy, proving that numbers are real and alive. And that's the hardest point to make. The reason it's called the Rodin coil is because I'm the spearhead. I'm the human battering ram promoting this. But I called it the flux thruster atom pulsar. Actually, my friends did. Didn't too hard, too confusing, so it's just the Rodin coil. Call it whatever you want. Vortex-based mathematics. That's the kind of math I'm talking about. You haven't begun to even see it yet. Has to do with the electron shear. Has to do with underpinning nested vortices. Haven't even gotten there. Numbers are real and alive. That's my claim. Why am I making that claim? Because I should be the most successful, wealthiest, living in comfort person on the planet with a claim like that if it was valid. The other thing it gets me is a love me jacket. Does everybody know what a love me jacket is? A love me jacket is a jacket that they put on you that's white. It's called a straight jacket, and you keep on hugging yourself. You love yourself. That's what you get for that. Okay, real numbers are real and alive? What are you talking about? Next, please. That's the invention. That's what this torus makes. That's the actual coil. It's an iron core, and it's, in this case, it's very little copper. It creates a gyroscope laser effect at the center. And that coil was bought out in 2016 for over €1 million. But because I wouldn't be able to make this presentation today, if I took any money, I refused to do it. But I told the engineer, take the money. One thing you never do is stand in between your team members and money. Trust me. And so I said, go right ahead. but I did not accept it. And again, so just the existing Rodin coil technology already gets rid of the weight problem in motors and coils. Now, I believe it can be printed as a circuit. I think it should be made out of plasma. I believe I can make a spaceship out of that. I believe I can use that to, not as a radionic device, so they've done tens of millions of dollars of sales as that to treat and heal people for deadly diseases. I don't espouse that. I don't teach that. I don't promote that. That's what other people have done independent of me. What I believe is that you can do gene splicing with it. But we'll save that for the next slides as it comes up. Quantum macroscopic heat engine. Because if I have taught you the secret of how to make a spaceship, you will understand how to do it on a macroscopic level. I'm going to show you that all quantum effects can be duplicated on the macro or gross level. That quantum is not confined to micro. And they know that now. They know that in Astro D, Physics Magazine, and everything else. We don't know it because we're not keeping up with the most latest research in the last year or two. They are creating macroscopic quantum results. All this exotic materials and cryogenics will all be obsolete because you can do things on the large scale. But we haven't gotten there in an explanation yet, and it'll be hard for me. We may have to come back to find a good slide to do it. Next, please. Oh, we never did do a hologram slide in all of these. We never got to it. Spirit is latent potential energy. I'm not even going to read it, but it's what I've discovered. Next, please. It's too much for me to read. Everything's too much for me. We're only like 100th into the presentation. 2 superimposed worlds. Why would I name it that? Because when God has a secret and he hides it, he does it by overlapping it. So I have 2 hands here, but you can't see the second one. So they're superimposed. This discovery is that the 396, that the base 10 system is not one system. Everybody thinks it's base 10. It's not. They're 2 completely separate systems, helically woven together. 396 is a completely different world than the 124875. When you separate them, you no longer have a blurry watercolor. You no longer get endless non-repeating decimals. You no longer get approximations. You don't have to take it up to the next number. If it's over 5, under 5, you don't have to round off because there's another way of doing math. Next, please. If you only knew the magnificence of 3, 6, and 9, then you would have a key to the universe, Nikola Tesla. So I claim to know the secret of the 3, 6, and 9. And that's a family number group. But when I'm using it, it's palindrome 396. 9 always comes in the middle of 3 and 6. 3 and 6 are always on the outside. And DNA follows this pattern. And if you can follow it, 3 and 6 is magnetic. 9 is spirit. They're inseparable. Only magnetic fields can respond fast enough to give slippage and free play to spirit. And when spirit's going forward, the magnetic fields are going in the reverse direction. Next, please. It's crazy. And if I'm right, that's even really, really crazy. So Einstein's cosmological constant would be, I'm saying, lambda is apogee 9. And I love this illustration. And thank you, BJ, who made this. And there's the number 9 at the top. And I'm trying to show how it works. And we would have to have a whole workshop that would go for 3 days to totally get the feel for it. Next, please. This is a very important slide. It's a little slow loading. Yeah. Yeah. And we're going to get to all that, I hope. Transdimensional, interdimensional, omnidimensional. 9 is the control. Only the number 9 lines up vertically over the 0. So 9 is lining up over the 0. We talked about it. Creating an invisible W-axis. This orthogonal, that's the secret. It's a right angle to this axis. It's orthogonal. It's perpendicular. Runs perpendicular. It's a right angle to the 124875. It's the relation of this to this. It's the relation of heaven. I'm claiming this is another world. This is the relationship of heaven to our physical world. And it's amazing how how this world, how our world is dependent on that world. And I will come back to this symbol. Bear in mind, you recognize there's the base 10 numbers, 1 through 9. And you see it's a right and left mirror. It's all made out of triangles. We'll come back to this. So the blinking sapphire arrow charts Spirit's omnidimensional pathway from the unmanifest into the world of form. It's a very beautiful line. Next, please. It's an honor and a privilege for me to be able to present this. I'm as much as a voyager on this as you. The Mobius Circuit. The superfluid preferred longest mean free pathway of least resistance for electrical superconductivity always follows this bounded infinity circuit. So now we're getting a little bit farther along. Now you got your next or true picture animation, your first one. I don't have many. And what's it doing? I have illustrations that show this, but I'd rather talk it with the animation. You start with 1. 1 God, 1 universe. It doubles, becomes 2. That's Gabriel's trumpet. 4. Because the B is not a bilabial stop. It's a plosive. So when I say the most great name of God, I don't say, which is the comparative case, I'm just going to race through it, is Baha, means glory, in Arabic, Aramaic. It's a loan word out of Arabic to the Farsi language. It's in the Bible. It's in the Torah. It's in the Quran. It's in Buddhism. It's in everything. And the superlative case of Baha, which is the higher case, the highest, is called Abha. And that translates to splendor, wondrous, or glory. That's the heavenly world. And the B is not said as a B, which is a bilabial stop. When I say the most great name of God, based on my understanding, it becomes like Gabriel's trumpet. I go, like the buzzing of a bee. Completely different. And I had to learn all this math to help me understand that. So what happens is 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, but I'm back to where I began. So why is the I Ching 64? Why is it the $64,000 question? Not because 8 times 8 is 64. We thought it was. Why?
The chessboard.
Loud.
For the chessboard.
What is that?
4 squares.
The chessboard.
4 squared?
No,
Chess.
the chessboard.
Chess.
The
Queen.
chess game.
Chess game?
Oh,
64.
And the chessboard 64 too. Thank you very much. It's because it's one complete cycle of infinity. And it's not infinity of a straight line direction. It's infinity of a spin continuum. It's infinity of duration. So 64 doubles 128, but 1 plus 2 plus 8 equals 11 is 2. 256 equals 13 is 4. 512 equals 8. 1024 equals 7. 2048 equals 14 is 5. There's only 6 numbers in infinity before it repeats. So infinity isn't infinite. It's a bounded infinity, like the electron orbital. That's a big deal. I'm taking the binary code, which is doubling, right? We understand computers. And I'm saying I can turn conventional computers, I'm taking this back to how to make a supercomputer, and I can take that binary code and I can say, I'm not interested in how many transistors I can pack into the smallest processor I can make. I'm interested in cycling. How many times I go around. Hey, every high school, every college has a track and it's in a circle. It's not in a straight line. I'm interested in making a track for computer logic processors. Everyone see my vision?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's different. Do you agree? They're not doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're instead thinking that it's a huge, endless process. And I'm saying, no, it's periodic. It's repetitive. It's recursive. But I had this when I was a teenager. I did not know that the 396 was that red dotted line. When I had that as a teenager, I didn't have it correct. I had that as a solid line, because see how it's the same angle and the same ratio? You see this waveform in the circle? See this waveform in the circle? Because I took the most great name of God, the equation, out of the scriptures, which is the 2 and the 5 connecting to the 1, because that's in Arabic is the B. That's the H is the 5. I'm not using the English order of the letters. I'm using their original scriptural language. Why? Because they say the prophets deliberately revealed it in those languages because they said those languages, the sound embodies the essence of what it's describing. They said it was a spiritual language. So I was going by their rules. Hey, I'm not a prophet. I'm a adherent. I'm trying to learn what they're teaching, okay? I'm just trying to reverse engineer and look for the clues. But that's enough. I won't keep going. Okay, bounded infinity, 396, haven't even begun to explain this because everybody today, we're making computers that are using the binary code. Nobody knows how to use the 396693 to do calculations yet in a supercomputer. No one knows that you can't have the binary code without the 396693. I'm telling every computer scientist that you don't even have the whole picture yet. That's unbelievable. That there's another pattern, number pattern, in calculating that is indispensable to these calculations, which is the 396. Okay, remember we really have 18 numbers, not 9, because I could hide another 9 behind them. Remember I had polarity before, but because I give away the house and I share so much freely, I want to torture you. Inflict a little pain on you. It's not much pain, just a little Chinese little Chinese torture. So, you see 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5. You already think you're a master of that. Is everyone a master of it? You must be. You know one. You think you are. What's this? 396. Okay. So if I go from 3, because we know if I go 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, I'm going to go back to 1. You can't leave the train track. Okay? You're on a rail. But what happens with this? And bear in mind, why is it a dotted line? Because I'm trying to convey to you that it's a higher dimensional flux field. Because every coil, as I had to learn, you're now having to learn, as it was taught to me by Scott, who was my mechanical engineer, chief, every coil has an associated magnetic field with it, except it's not just magnetism, it's spirit and magnetism. The field is magnetism, the flux is spirit. It's a flux field. So, did you know I was going to talk this long with each illustration? You didn't know that, did you? I told you, though, didn't I?
You warned me.
I said,
It's wonderful.
you can't miss.
I've never seen you finish out the...
Speak loud for me.
I've never seen you expire the GIF. It quit.
No, I didn't understand.
The GIF went as far as it could go.
Oh.
I've never seen
That's
you
funny.
max it out.
That's hilarious.
I'll have to lengthen it.
Our problem has always been that the magic hand never stops, and we're supposed to move on, and we have to wait for it forever, and there's this big pause, but now she says it wasn't long enough. So, okay, she knows the answer, so I'm not going to ask her. I'm going to ask Robert. Sorry, Robert. Roger. 1 goes to 2, 2 goes to 4, 4 goes to 8, 7 goes to 5, 5 goes to 1, and the pattern repeats. It's periodic. You feel you're a little comfortable with that? Okay, so what happens with this? 3 goes to 9, 9 goes to 6. Robert, what is the next number, please? Roger. I always get everybody's names wrong because I'm in my own world when I'm doing this. What is the next number, please? It can only be a 3, 9, or 6. I'm giving you clues. 3, I'll tell you what I would guess if I was you in the audience. I would go 3, 9, 6, 6, 9, 3, 3, 9, 6. Wouldn't you think that?
I was going to say 3.
You would have said 3? Well, of course, because you're so difficult. Why would you have said 3? There is a reason.
Because I don't know why it would reverse direction.
He is right in a sense, and out of respect for him, because he really is right in a sense, I will answer that. But there's a slide that goes with it, so we're going to get this twice in this presentation. Because 3 and 6 can never touch, they're extreme opposites. They're the same as male and female. My opinion, I'm not an expert, it's just a hunch, that male is 3 and female is 6. It's because the hexagon is 6, and everything in nature is based on hexagon close packing. It's called closet packing. has to do with the diamond gradient superconductivity, because you can take 6 pennies around 1 penny and it makes a hexagon. That's why tortoise shell is hexagon. And so what happens is they had a big hexagon on the top of, what was it, Saturn. You could put 10 Earths inside it. At the top of it, everyone remember that hexagon? What is a spiral vortex doing making a hexagon shape? It's crazy to have a, and so, but it's for a reason. It's hexagon close packing. The two most extreme numbers, the yin and yang, is 3 and 6, because 3 doubled is 6. 6 doubled is 12, which equals 3. 12 doubled is 24, which equals 6. 24 doubled is 48 equals 12 is 3. 3 and 6 are the furthest most extremes of each other, but everybody thinks that the yin and yang is a duality. I just showed you a duality, 3 and 6 back and forth. There is no such thing as a duality. It's all an optical illusion. There's no such thing as black and white, male and female. There's always spirit in the center, which is the third part, which is the control, which is how God fashioned and created. It's the invisible hand behind everything is spirit, how God made the universe. And what is it represented? By the number 9. So normally people talk about the number 9, but I don't think you're ever going to get, other than this presentation or Vortex Based Mathematics, such an in-depth explanation really of how the mechanical properties of number 9, the technical properties of the number 9. So I didn't give you the answer to this yet. And I think I'm going to save it for a while and make you suffer and torture you. But I can tell you it is definitely not the number 3. Okay, but we'll save it for a while. Next, please. See how I said I was going to torture him? I'm not going to give him the answer. I can be tough. We are not alone. We did that last night. The 396 imparts both angle and ratio on the quantum microscopic level to the 124875. Imparts both angle and ratio on the quantum macroscopic level. So I'm saying this is the higher dimensional. I typically refer to this as the 4th dimension, that's omnidimensional, and I'm saying that if all those higher dimensionals, 10, 11, 12, all compact together, if you get the angle of the lower dimensional, our physical concrete material world, the 3rd dimension right, all the higher dimensions will fall into place with it as well. And the secret is wherever the 396 is, you leave it alone. You don't put a conductor, you leave it alone. You put an empty space for the flux fields to create the underpinning nested vortices. I said a mouthful. So we just did this. This is actually a current presentation. This is only current to this week. We just did this. We are not alone. Next, please. I've never been able to stay on the right time of a presentation. God's archetypal brainwave encephalogram pattern. The binary code cannot exist without palindrome, 396693. Well, there's your answer then. So what comes after 6? Another 6, but you can't see it. So it goes 396. There's another 6 hidden behind the 6. Then it goes 693. And you know what? That 9 that you get there is not the same 9 that you're looking at, because you're now behind it. Because that 9 was a positive, this 6 was a negative, and that next 6 now is a positive. And that 9 now is a completely different 9. That's a negative 9 that you can't see until you're working on the torus skin, that they're completely different numbers. A few of you understand that. I don't see how you could follow that. If I was in this class following it, I'd be completely lost, just to let you know. Okay. The ultimate machine is the human temple, which is the throne of God. The brain is the antenna that transmits and receives divine guidance and illumination. I'm sorry I'm throwing God at you. I'm sorry. Yeah. But this is America. We get away with all that kind of stuff. Okay, next, please. Biophysical harmonics models the all coherent brainwaves of God. Recursion, 124875, 124875, 124875, 124875, 124875. That's Gabriel's trumpet. Now, why is it called Gabriel's trumpet in the scriptures? Because it's also said in the mystic scriptures, in this case, the 7 valleys and the 4 valleys. I'll even say the whole quote. I had a goal, and I'm being real personal. This is a personal talk. I had a goal in life. My goal in life was to find my fortune in life. I wasn't doing very good. Yes, I saw a beautiful white crane. They're supposed to be bringing you good luck in the lagoon, in the marsh, you know, a herring. I saw a white herring. But I still hadn't found my fortune. And so I went and camped out on the beach, promised not to return back to society, until I found my fortune. So fable, you know, the king leaves with the empty basket. And so while I was on that roof, camping out at night, I memorized the 7 valleys and the 4 valleys of Baha'u'llah. And it's very beautiful. And it begins with, He is the strong, the well-beloved, O light of truth, the Samidin, the bounteous. No prince hath the world begot like unto thee. I am wondering why the tie of love was so abruptly severed and the firm cord of friendship broken. Did God ever forbid my deep affection fail or my devotion lessen, that thou hast thus forgotten me and blotted me from thy thoughts? Is it that we are lowly and thou art of high degree, or as a single arrow driven thee from the battle? Have they not told thee that faithfulness is a duty on those who follow the mystic way that is a true guide? I forget what it says, to the holy presence, but it's for those who say our Lord is God and who go straight to him. The angels shall descend to them. Likewise he saith, go straight on as thou hast been commanded. Wherefore this course is incumbent upon those who dwell in the presence of God. I bring thee the message, whether it give thee counsel or offense. I'll bet I have had no reply to my missives of old, yet this new love hath broken all the old rules and ways. Tell us not the tale of Layli or of Measurnum's woe. Thy loveth made thee forget the loves of long ago. When once thy name was on the tongue, the lovers caught it, and it set the hearers and the speakers dancing to and fro. And then he goes on, and he says, for this is the realm of absolute command and is free of all the attributes of earth. And they asked, and he answered. He's answering the question. He said, this is the answer. He said, this is a bottomless night through which none shall find their way. And they asked, and he answered again, it is the blackest, it is the darkest of nights through which none shall find his way. And they asked, and he answered again, it is a bottomless sea which none shall ever fathom. Because that 2n is an infinite but bounded infinity progression. It's called the blackest of nights, a bottomless sea. You wouldn't think about that with Gabriel's trumpet, but those are 2 adjectives. That's why it's called a hollow reed, that you blow the pit of self out from, which is supposed to be for, like detachment, self-renunciation, severance. The hollow reed, it's a famous parable. Or anyway, it's how to say the letter B, because everybody says it too slowly. They say it with their lips. And the B and H is said in conjunction. They overlap, male and female. It's not that I'm a negative vortex and she's a positive vortex. It's not that I'm a positive vortex and she's a negative vortex. It's that we're in conjunction. It's that we're in synchronization. And that's why this map is going to be why I am showing you unicity. And once I show you the hologram, you know that I have found perfection. And perfection is almost meaningless to you because you don't know what it is. But I do. And I'm showing unicity, and I'm showing coherence. I'm showing unity. And that's why it's called unity physics. And that's the goal. Okay, next please. So now we're going to the 3, 9, 6, and 9, 3. Now you see they're different polarities. Okay? So it'll go -6, +9, -3, and then what's the next number? It'll be +6, -9, +3. Phase 1. There's 3 phases. I know it's, I should explain it. I won't. But see it flipping? That's how DNA works. 396, 693. Just type in DNA and put the word palindrome. You'll see all the amino acids, all the language and the coding being based on this flux field, which is the language of DNA. It's called the bioetheric template or the morphogenetic field. That's why this is really a double helix if you look closely. 9 is the spirit flux control. 3 and 6 are the instantaneous magnetic field results. Next, please. I'm enjoying this presentation, by the way. I really am. Spirit cleaves in twain the numbers 3 and 6. The triangle, diamond, and hexagon all occur in phase 1. Because the triangle and a hexagon, they're all a part of the same thing. I have beautiful maps in my original book that I wrote, which had 500 illustrations, but Another day, another time. I did it for making superconductor processors. Next, please. I'm kind of going a little too quick. There's the yin and yang, so I said there's no such thing as a duality. The third component is always invisible. It's the S curve. And I use that for electricity. To insulate electricity, it's a harmonic boundary. I don't need rubber. I don't need insulation. Remember the notes we had? Now that's what that was for. I'd use a grain, a shear. All the wood in all this hotel, you see this hidden grain. And the grain's a demarcation line. And I figured out how to make electricity, get rid of parasitics, get rid of friction, by not having anything. I don't need anything. I use its own harmonic oscillations to insulate it. Now, how's that? Next, please. That's why this works like sci-fi. This is why I'm like Chicken Little and saying the sky's falling. Who's going to believe something like this? Spirit's W-axis, the source of all motion, vibration, and time. And that's right there. Okay, next, please. Only the 3 and 6 magnetic fields can instantaneously respond to provide slippage and free play to the number 9 spiritual flux. The higher dimensional 396 flux fields pierce and impart spin to the 3D counter-spiraling 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5 Mobius circuits, which always comes in pairs. They always comes in pairs. You don't see all that. Now, what's interesting is I've started you guys, if I had put this at the end, you could never have absorbed it. So I'm putting it at the front, because then at the end, the other stuff's going to be really fundamental. And this stuff will kind of come to you in your sleep. Okay, next, please. Oh, keep that. Well, you see they were changing that when that was negative, they were positive, and when that's positive, they're negative? That's the control. And that got there from shooting out of here. That's the farthest distance. That's why this symbol is so profound. It's showing the longest reach, which is a straight line. And that straight line may not exist after it punches the torus, because you have two things in the torus. You have the inner hole, which is the inner diameter, ID, and you have the circumference at the equator, which is called the OD, outer diameter. That 9 puncturing that invisible z-axis is the long, and this is revealing the girth, the breadth, the width. This is width, the breadth. Like you're breathing. We'll keep going. Wow. Please, next. Omni-dimension, 3D. That's all we're occupying, except we're interspersed by flux fields. We think everything's in a straight line. We don't see that everything in our world's being curved by this. But our world's a logarithmic. Our world's a spiral, 2 spirals, counter-rotating. Another world and another dimension. This is one world. This is another world. There's 2 worlds. So I just got to do it again. Another world and another dimension. Woven together. Interspersed. Being sustained. Sustaining one another. This is called the lesser world. The next one that our soul ascends to is called the greater world. This world's considered transient. This is not even considered, it's considered, the saying is it's worth less than the dark eye of part of an ant. Okay, the base 10 system is composed, I'm reading it because I don't even know what I said, and I don't know if it's important or not. The base 10 system is composed of 2 distinctly separate yet overlapping worlds that are helically woven together. The third dimension is the 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5 surface topology. See, this is not a surface topology. This is the legend. This is the blueprint. This is how I did it. The torus is the surface topology, which we are still just beginning. The surface topology of the torus of the 396 vector is omnidimensional. The pumping action of the 396 flux fields causes the gliding action. The pumping action of this causes the gliding action of this, of the 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5 Mobius circuit. So literally, this world is literally not even moving of its own locomotion or accord. It's being driven by a higher dimensional world, the pumping action. Next, please. We live in a deterministic universe. So that's the big that's the $64,000 questions. That's the big dilemma, whether our world is predetermined or not, whether there are absolutes, whether there are fixed constants, and yes, there are. That doesn't mean we don't have free will. It doesn't mean that we can't do what we wish or don't have a pleasure. But it still means that all roads lead to Rome. There's no escaping the black hole. Eventually, the Earth will be pulled crushing flat into the center of the Milky Way solar systems. The Earth's mountains will be pulled crushing flat. The seas will boil off in their bed. The Earth will be mixed together with other planets and stars, spun around faster and faster and faster until we all shoot out. The other side of the black hole is a hot, gaseous plume of nebular matter. It will go billions of light years in the form of a white hole, which is a pulsar. Every black hole has a white hole on the other side. It will eventually amalgamate, form new planets, new stars. Why did this happen? It's a process of renewal. A black hole is a compost pile. It's recycling. And planets and stars are the coolant medium that take heat away from the hole, the core in the center, so that the black hole doesn't burn up and incinerate, because it can only move high and low in a very limited small margin of temperature fluctuation, or it would self-destruct the black hole. So everything's about heat dissipation, okay, in the form of spirit, which is considered an invisible light. It's not the visible light, it's called the divine light. It's called and it's called a flame, but it's the flame that never dies. And so, all continuous mediums. So it can be a solar system, it can be water, even electricity skins, it spirals on the conductor. So we know that everything, I'm saying it doesn't matter what it is, follows the 124875. And I'm saying the Rodin coil is a macro mimicking a micro lattice structure of this, and that's why I'm getting unique properties, the Rodin coil, which I have not explained in this talk. And you know what? I'm not even going to bother, because we'll never get anything. I'll never get to what I want to talk about. So it can be water, it can be electricity, it can be a solar system, it can be plasma. And you can have not just superconductivity. That's why I use the term superfluidity, because even the solar system can be superfluid when you start dealing with that kind of black hole and condensed matter physics, and it's superfluid. Okay, next please. So this is called the Great Attractor. It's considered, I don't know if it's bigger than a solar system. I guess obviously it is. And then it's called the butterfly effect, the Lorentz butterfly effect, phase 2 and 3. Is this part here, the 124875. We see what's controlling it and driving it. Energy flowing into the future always follows this topological pathway. I've really said a mouthful. Optimal reduction, bound infinity, unlimited recursion, 124875, 124875, 124875. And we still haven't begun yet. I haven't even explained what happens with the 5. I've only explained the 2. Next, please. Bear in mind, women don't typically have big beards. That's because women are Mother Nature. And that's because they are the visible. That's why creation, Mother Nature, is visible. They're not hidden. Women, I don't know what it's like to be a woman, but I guess it's like being an exposed nerve ending. You're very vulnerable. You're very visible, 724. What's a man? We're a beard. We can hide it behind it. We're a negative vortex. Women are a positive vortex. We're hidden. They're opposites, based on 3s, not 2. And what was I going to say? A negative vortex, men, I was going to say, if women are Mother Nature, what are man called? Or what is masculine in nature and physics around us? Everyone doesn't know this one. It's too easy.
Father Sky.
Oh, you did? Well, Father Sky, or I say Father Time, but you're right. Father Sky or Father Time. I call it Father Time, but Father Sky is exactly the same. So Mother Nature, Father Time. But everything adores God. Everything worships down. Everything bows the knee and prostrates to God, because everything has a preferred frame of reference. That means everything has an up, down, right, left, front, back. So when the airplane flies around the globe, if it's upside down, the wheels are on the top, the carriage is on the top, you're going to be hanging by your seatbelt. Very uncomfortable in that cabin, okay? So this whole, because God in this case, as far as an airplane and the Earth, is mass, because it's exerting its influence. That's the physical, concrete world, okay? And every world that God creates, always has a foci. He always has that world has something that is the hub or the center of adoration or attention. And in our physical world, the axis is it. It reveals the qualities and attributes of God. Everyone still with me a little? And we could talk about the axis a lot. But I will say one personal story, because you'll never probably get this experience that I did because of my work. I get to meet such amazing scientists. Someone was having trouble. He invested in Bruce De Palma, the N machine. You don't know all this stuff. It's too far back. He paid for me to fly to his home in Santa Barbara. He's staying in his brother's castle on the beach. And I couldn't help Bruce, but Bruce was a lot of fun. And he took me into his garage to show me he said, this cost $50,000 to build. It was a box about 4 feet wide, about 2 feet by 2 feet, hung by huge change in the ceiling. And there was a wall switch by the light. And he turned it on, and it was like an airplane jet roaring. You saw nothing. It was a box. All you see was the 2 chains in the box. And he says, push it. Just walk up to it and just give it a shove. I walk up to it, and bear in mind, it's on. It's roaring. And you would not be able to hear our voices. It was so loud. And it's multiple gyroscopes. And I push it, because you know something's spinning in there. And it just sways so easily, back and forth. It just sways on those chains. I just went like this, just like that. He says, now watch this. He turns it off, takes a couple minutes, it just completely shuts down. He walks up to it, he rotates it 90 degrees, just 90 degrees in relationship to the Earth, okay? And he turns it back on. And now you don't think anything's going to change, right? What can change? Okay, it's in a box, it's sealed. We're outside. There shouldn't be any difference to our mind. It's called unintuitive. That's the key word. This experiment was very unintuitive. Just like I'm explaining preferred frame of reference to you and how everything worships God. It's unintuitive. Okay, everything acknowledges that there's something better, bigger, greater, because we're all conforming to it, whether we know it or not. Because it's imprinting its self. It's imprinting itself everywhere. And so he turns it 90 degrees, he throws the switch on, he says, push it, I walk up to it, I push it, I hit it, I try and throw it, and it's just hanging by these chains, and that box will not swing. It's rigid, it's locked. Now somebody knew that principle. That's why they invented the little gyroscope. You spin it and you hold it in your hand, and it's supposed to strengthen your wrist, and it spins around, and it's supposed to be so hard to control, and it's supposed to make you stronger. Has anyone ever held that little toy? Okay. This box could not be rocked just by changing the 90 degrees, because there was something communicating, interacting with the Earth. Gyroscopes communicate. Gyroscopes are omniscient. We have an axis down the middle. Our right and left side is a mirror. Everything starts from the inside out. When you leave this class tonight, you may forget everything I've said up to this point, but you won't forget your multiplication table, because I'm about to teach you what you thought was a 2D flat multiplication table when we get out of this. I'm going to teach you how to count all over again. And when Russell Blake from Microsoft, the director of future operating systems, he's devoted his entire life to my work, and he's translated my work to algebra, matrix algebra, written hundreds, if not thousands of pages on my work. What did I do? I had to teach him how to count all over again, because the multiplication table is not flat. It's 3D. And while we're teaching all our children, it's completely wrong. And my work should be a curriculum for children, but I don't have the resources to do that. And so that is not what I'm doing. Okay, next, please. But if I did, I would. Oh, the SO axiom, but we'll skip it. It's because we cover it in different ways. And there it is, the symbol. That's very beautiful. Thank you, Lisa. And the source, the Abha primer. Because it's based on primes. That's 3 squared. Now you're going to see 5 squared. Next, please. How you doing, Roger? Good. It's not disappointing? Not what you'd expect?
I didn't have any.
Good.
We're down for some reason.
What happened?
We're down for some reason. No?
Was it Matthew who helped us? Okay. Oh, timed out.
No. Well, we'll just keep going.
You don't know what it took for me to be here, you guys. You don't.
So much.
Awesome.
But it's not over with.
Both of you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome. And thank you, Lisa and Peter. What? What, Lisa? Go?
You want to go this route?
Let's.
This chapter?
Absolutely. I don't even know. I can't even remember exactly our order.
Okay, we're all
Next, please.
Okay.
Thank you for your clapping. You're about to learn your multiplication table. You thought you guys knew your multiplication series, right? Okay, 2 new things you have to learn. You have to learn about polar mates. What are polar mates? Sounds a little intimate. I used to call them polar number groups, but they're not even called polar mates. They're called number mates. Origin of the base 10 counting system, the first true prime number, 3 squared, creates the base 10 counting system. I'll explain it. You saw those 2 points horizontally lined up, and I said they were mirrors. But someone could have said to me, hey, Marco, don't give me this BS. 1 and 8 are completely not mirrors. Would you be the devil's advocate, Peter? Is 1 and 8 a mirror? No. Don't insult me. What did I do wrong? I said there's one error, the whole thing gets trashed, right? In the garbage chute with it. Because 1 is here and 8 is here, right? But 1 goes up plus 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. But multiples of 8 go down minus 1. And everything's starting from the inside out. Remember, it has to be a butterfly. It has to be that great attractor. 2 8s is 16 equals 7. 24, 32, 49. Wait a minute. 8, 16, 32. Wait a minute. 3 times 8 is 24. 4 times 8 is 32. 8 times 5 is 40 equals 4. 8 times 6 is 48 equals 12 is 3. 8 times 7 is 56 equals 11 is 2. 8 times 8 is 64 equals 10 is 1. 9 times 8 is 72 equals 9. Did I do it right?
Yeah.
So it's the same pattern. And you can only use each pattern once. And the pattern going this way is completely different from that one going that way. Because remember, it changes polarity. I haven't explained why I obsolete the binary code and why I obsolete. Oh, I have, but I haven't. I'm going to do a better job at it now.
How does the 1 work? I'm sorry, I'm slow. 1, 2, 3. Why does it work? What are you doing to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6?
See, the problem is we don't realize. It's a great question, honestly. See, you have to understand. He said he didn't expect anything. He's approaching this from a standpoint of he's going to be happy no matter what. And so when he looks at multiples of 1, I would think, well, hey, and most of you would think, hey, we know what's going on here. We have 1 rabbit, or we have 1 apple, we have 1 orange, and now we have 2 oranges, and we have 3 oranges. He doesn't see that. And what we all don't see is that's a multiplication series. No one ever thinks that multiplication, 1, 2, 3, 4 is a multiplication series. Who tells you stop multiplying when you think you're adding or something? Okay? But that's called a control. And it's very different, okay, than doing multiples of 8, which is the mirror of that. Because it has to go, because I'm only showing it to you in one context. One's going to the right, one's going to the left, or one's going up, and one's going down. But no one ever shows you this stuff. Who shows it to you? And that there's a use for this, and this becomes an XYZ system. Do you realize I'm telling you this XYZ system? I could say, I could choose my price for this. I can say, I want $1 million. I want $1 billion. I want $1 trillion. Because nobody knows this. And I got an exclusive. Okay? And I know what to do with it. And I know how to apply it to technology. And what era are we in? We used to be in the nuclear era. I can tell you something. We're not. We are now in the spirit era, where all machines can run in spirit, period.
Wow.
So I'll do it again. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. But that's really a control because I'm really doing multiples of 1. It really is a mind twister. And it'll show up in other ways even better. But it gets really fun when I start, but I'll never get there, when I start cycling through the different toruses. There's 3 toruses for base 10, but I won't explain it right now. So let's do multiples of 2 and 7. So this isn't 1 over here, this is a 10. And this isn't 9 over here, this is an 18, because it's multiples of 2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. 10 equaled 1, 12 equaled 3, 14 equaled 5, 16 equaled 7, 18 equaled 9. Everyone still with me a little? Yeah. Okay, so that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, or 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. But I'm only concerned, now the last number that is before 9 is 7, which is the opposite of 2, which is also would have been here all over again, because after 18 would have been 20. So as 2 and 7 are the same distance from 9, just as 1 and 8 is the same distance from 9, that means it's going to be a multiple in the same way. You follow that a little? Yeah. Yeah. So multiples of 7 is the same pattern backwards. 7, 5, 12. No, 7, 2 7 is 14 equals 5. 3 7 is 21 equals 3. 4 times 7 is 28 is 1. 7 times 5 is 35 is 8. 7 times 6 is 42 equals 6. 7 times 7 is 49 equals 4. 7 times 8 is 56, 11 is 2. 7 times 9 is 63 equals 9. Same exact pattern, no redundancy, no omission, and it becomes a 3D XYZ. Let's do 4 and 5. 4, 8, 3, 7, 2, 6, 1, 5, 9. Zamir, 5, 1, 6, 2, 7, 3, 8, 4, 4, 9. Now I hate to do this. The first two, I'm not explaining the 3, 9, 6. I'm showing the mirror of the hands. I'm not going to break our order. I'm not going to leave this because we'll never stay in order. But I really right now would have been showing you.
I can bring up wherever you want to do.
No, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take whatever fate gives us next. But I would have been showing you the difference between the vertical axis or the x-axis, the difference between the y-axis and the z-axis. And bear in mind, eventually we'll be talking about the w-axis because this is all, and the w-axis is what blows me away. That again, it obsoletes Wikipedia that uses the tesseract and the hypercube. I have the perfect representation of the fourth dimension by normal counts, which is really the omni-dimension of the w-axis. Okay, so let's keep going and see where this takes us instead of jumping around. I'm not going to take over this presentation. I'm going to follow it.
I think it was me.
It's the, we should have gone into settings and said that it,
No, it was me.
Oh.
There's a button I shouldn't touch.
Oh, I
My
get
fault. Sorry.
Number mate building blocks. The number mates 1 to 8, 2 and 7, 4 and 5 represent the cross-section in 3D space of the WXYZ axis of superluminal holographic. It's not really correct because they don't represent the W there. The 3, 9, and 6 do, but not these. These only represent the XYZ. Of a superluminal holographic hypersphere, the first true prime number, 3 squared, creates a base counting system. And I would have, I probably would have done some things a little bit more different in different ways too. But it's building blocks. Next, please. Alice through the looking glass mirror. Our hands are mirrors with opposable thumbs, called bilateral symmetry, and is based upon the principle of parity. Having 10 fingers has nothing to do with the origin of the decimal system. You don't know that yet, but I'm going to prove that point next, pretty soon. Family number groups. This is pretty complicated, but it's so easy. Has to do with timing and phasing. If you guys were going to all be computer scientists and engineers, I'd go in depth. I'm just going to cut through it because you're probably not going to be designing computers. Except each one of us is a plane of 3D space. It's hard to understand what I mean. Okay, let's keep going. It's going to have to speak for itself. Next, please. Family number groups are critical, and I use them continuously, and you can never break the law of how they work. Biphily or Mobius circuits. Next, please. So now, and we just whipped these together, I think this morning. Was it this morning?
Yes, it was. Sorry about the resolution.
1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, 1024. Infinity is not infinite. I already said that. It's a closed circuit. You break the circuit, it won't work. So the Rodin coil, my invention, and everybody puts an input and output. They want to take the electricity out. They're making it wrong.
Wow.
There is no input and output. And by the very virtue of making it, it's being turned on by the emanation spirit. And Closed circuit. Forgot my point. Let's keep going. Clefting derivatives to the left halving. Now this I really think you need to see, because you're used to that doubling by now. I've only shown you 25 illustrations. And I told you that the ancients left the 5 and the 2 being the same symbol but encrypted upside down or inverted. This whole thing has to do with inversion. I also told you it's a recycling process of renewal. It's that this is a recycling center. So now a half of 1 is 0.5. Half of 0.5 is 0.25. Roger, what number did that used to be when it was the numbers going around in a circle, 1 through 9?
7.
That's right. And what's 2 plus 5? Yell it loud.
7.
Thank you. So if the fraction doesn't equal the number, the discrete number, then this system wouldn't have worked. So when you do child's play, when you play children's games by reducing it to a single digit, it still works. So now we're going to go, and Roger, tell me what's halving. So 1 divided by 2 is 0.5. What's 0.5 divided by 2, please? It's a quarter.
0.125.
No, 0.5 divided by 2.
Yeah.
0.25, which equals a 7, right? Okay, so now what's 0.25 divided by 2, please?
0.125.
And what's 1 plus 2 plus 5?
8.
And what was that number? That's right. This is the most predictive math there is. But bear in mind, I'm using it to predict on a torus, not on this. So the computer technically would know the answer before you even started, because it would already be in the computer. Okay, so what's a half of 0.125? Or 0.125 divided by 2, it's 0.0625. And we went down, we went through the hole. You see why it's called Vortex Based Mathematics, because it's always in at the top, out at the bottom. It's always compression, decompression. It's an egg beater working together. Everyone see that? Pretty nuts, huh? Yeah. They're gears. Numbers are gears. So this is now 0.0625, which is, and what is that as a discrete number? 13 equals 4. And that's where the 4 was. Before we used to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. We came a whole different route, and it still worked.
Gotcha. Huh.
I have a point to make, but I refuse to use this illustration.
Thank you.
0.0625, 0.03125 equals 11 equals 2. So this is still doing 124.875, but now I'm doing it with decimals or fractions. Everybody see that? We'll keep.
Which decimal-based fractions seem like the most arbitrary, stupid thing in the world. We should have had 8 fingers and only had, you know what I mean? That's.
We did.
But it worked. But here we see that it actually has a reason.
Everything has a reason. In fact, here's the reason. The next plate. Here comes. The saying is all things are perfect in 10. This isn't the 10. This is 50-50. Together they make 100%. This whole class is about unity or 100%. Now, I got a little mind bender here. We don't know what 100% is. We don't. Okay, I can have a quart of wine, a gallon of wine. I can have a can of soda pop. They're all full. The lid hasn't been broken. They're all 100%. Their volume's completely different. What this is all about is content and quantity, how many parts. When you go to the right, this gets really weird. One part of, there's a relationship to it. So the way I see all this, how I see my discovery, instead of trying to explain to you, because I've been explaining things up to this point, but this, I don't think it does service to try and put it into words right now. So instead, I'm just going to say that everything is all connected, and everything's the same part of a greater whole, and there's an invisible thread connecting it, spirit. And so everything actually is serendipity, or beyond coincidence, or has a common thread uniting it. Okay, so 5/10, that was 0.5. Everyone agree that's 10? 0.25, that's 25 hundredths. 4 quarters make 100. And 10 times 10 is 100. This is 8 0.125s, which equal 1,000. and 10 times 100 is 1,000. So every time I was halving, I was creating a 0, and I was multiplying times 10. 10 times 100, 10 times 100 is 1,000, 10 times 1,000 is 10,000, 100,000, million, 10 million, 100 million, a billion, 10 billion, 100 billion, trillion. 10 minutes left?
Yes.
What happens if I go longer and they can leave if they want? It screws up the next speaker?
I'm not sure.
Well,
Is there somebody else coming into the room?
would you ask him that I asked?
Yes, we're working on that. We heard that you asked.
Thank you.
I think she said you could go
Dr.
longer.
Diane.
Yes, she
She
did.
did say you could go longer because we started late.
We'll get them in.
Go for it.
Don't worry about it. Barricade the door.
We can block doors.
There's someone scheduled in this room after.
We know too many people and have them stop us.
Well, we can go up to our hotel room.
When I'm done, I was going to go to the lounge. So it's been 2.5 hours. And I'm still explaining you just powers of 10.
Yeah, we haven't got to the point.
So, but I am, when we're all done, going to, and then because I know that it's really stressful, this whole thing, for you and me. So when we're all done, I was told there was a lounge next to the restaurant. It's called the Bar Lounge.
Yeah.
So we can sit there if you want to go there, but I won't have this, and so I'll start being like I'm
Paper.
insane. I won't even be able to do it in paper.
Like you were saying.
But
Oh, yeah, you can.
let's forget all this. Let's forget the power. What do I care about with this? I only care about this. Something's wrong here. How did this happen? Because I said we're not alone. Somebody created this system, something intelligent. We're all looking for UFOs. We're looking for alien vessels. I found the mind of God. I found that an all-coherent intelligence has left at the scene of the crime his DNA. He didn't escape being detected. And here's how I detect what I detect. So, and this is just my opinion. Why are 10s always at the bottom? That's bizarre. How come they're always lined up, this disketting? Why are our eyes horizontal? That's called polarization. That's not by accident. Why are the hundreds always in the middle? Now, they can cycle. The 10s can be up here, they will cycle, but they'll always be on the same row. When the 10s go up there, all the hundreds will go there, all the thousands will go, they always line up. So now the ones are always at top, okay? So I wasn't going to say this point, but I'm eating my words. I am going to say this point, but I'm not going to say it the way I always say it. I'm going to say it in a completely different way, which is probably easier. Here's how spirit works.
I can give you 10 more minutes over, so 140.
Give me the most you can.
Okay, 140 would be the
But what's your first name?
John.
You're in charge, so you just drop the guillotine and we'll be done.
Come in with the cards.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So here's the problem. This looks like a duality. This looks like two lobes. But to get from here to here, I'm going to say it. You're going to see it right now. I told you that spirit pulses in thirds. This is based on the prime number 3 squared. God knows you've all heard of the Trinity and every other religious connotation. To get from here to here, you got to go 1 step, 2 step, 3 steps. To go the back way, you got to go 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. I knew I had made the biggest breakthrough you could ever make because it's not a duality. It's an optical illusion. It's not even male and female. There's always spirit. There's always a third controlling it. Everything we take for granted is an optical illusion because there's always a third component which is invisible.
Which is why electronics.
Why what?
Electronics came into being. The realization that you could control positive and negative from a third.
How'd you realize that?
Just looked at what you did and you see you can deal with the two ends from something that's neither one.
I use this to make electricity. This whole thing is about making electricity because electricity does real work. And the saying is that, and we know that we need a magnetic field to control electricity. And because I get more magnetism, because I know where the spirit is, I get rid of the parasitics, I get rid of the resistance, because magnetism and spirit have to have the same angle. Okay, so let's keep going. You know, everybody, it's just going to end abruptly, right? It's just going to, and we're done, then I'm going to walk out to the lounge. And I don't even know how far along we are in this talk. Please go next, decimal parity. Oh, it's explaining abjad. The pattern repeats, 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5. You can see the pattern repeating now, even though that's growing so quickly. And I won't explain it. Go ahead. And thank you for, Lisa, for being the, what are you? The slide changer? Microscopic quantum hologram unicity. These slides, these chapters are really short. We haven't even gotten to the big chapters yet. The complete 3 base 10 superluminal holographic hyperspheres. Next, please. And they cycle. I should have explained. I could have explained those for hours, what happens, but it ain't happening. Electron shear. That has to do with insulation. I wouldn't wish this on anybody. Even it took me forever. When I wrote my original book, I didn't even dwell on it. I just couldn't do it for people. It's just too much. But I will tell you this. You're used to counting in multiples of 1. You are not used to counting in multiples of 4. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 30, 24, 28, which equals 10 is 1, 32 equals 5, 36 is 9. But what never changes, why those circuits, well, you didn't even know about the circuits yet because I haven't shown you on the torus. 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, what never changes? I used to have a saying I put on all my posters, but only I knew what I was talking about, so I stopped using it. I used to always say, the template never changes. The template never changes. This circuit must always exist. If you can find anything in existence, any mineral, any periodic table element, anything that doesn't have this principle inside it, then this discovery is false. So now I'm doing multiples of 7. 7, 5, which is from 14, 21, 28. Let's see, 7 times 5 is 35 is 8. 7 times 6 is 42 is 6. 7 times 7 is 49 is 4. 7 times 8 is 56, 11, 2. 7 times 9 is 63 equals 9. Then 10 times 70 is 70. And 77 is 14 is 5. So it just keeps going, that pattern. 7, 5, 3, 1, 8, 6, 4, 2, 9. So what is happening here is the circuit's still there. 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5. And that circuit is a ratchet. It always can only go one way. And it keeps getting tighter and tighter. And it explains how times work. This is all about time. This is explaining time. And I haven't explained time because I'd be tongue-tied trying to explain time right now. Okay, let's keep going. But it's a ratchet. Natural insulation, that's really what I wanted to explain. Keep going, it's just too much for me. Next, please. Prime, this is it. Good luck. The level of civilization is never more advanced than its mathematics. Alfredo Nava, close friend. He bailed me out of jail a few times, what can I tell you? Base 10 is a living hologram. From 1 to 100, there are only 3 true 3D base number counting systems. This right here, if they offered you anything in the universe, don't exchange it. It's that profound. From 1 to 100, there are only 3 true 3D base number counting systems, which are base 10, base 26, base 50. To create higher dimensional AI neural networks, conventional mathematics fails to realize that the binary code CPU processor circuits must come in pairs and that they are calculating in opposite directions. So all computers that are all doing one calculation one way and the binary code doesn't realize that you've got to have a reverse flow to be effective and efficient. Okay. Oh, whoa, that's fine. Radix 26, radix 10, radix 50. Trust me, there's numbers in there, and it works. And there are now 2 circuits in this torus, 4 circuits in this torus, 8 circuits, 4 circuits in this torus, 6 circuits. They keep increasing 2 pairs every time a prime is squared. There is no base system between these systems because this is a 3D system. So this is quantum exponential transition. Okay, next please. It really is quantum. I know it seems like the word's battened around, but it really is quantum. But you have to tie the quantum into the hologram, and we're not going to be able to do that today because I didn't make those slides I remembered just now. The whole is in the parts as above, so below. Only, and that's showing all the prime radixes. So that's you can, and there's no base. It's not arbitrary. You can't have hexadecimal. Even the binary code doesn't work, believe it or not. That's why our computers are so primitive. Three-dimensional superluminal holographic hyperspheres. Next, please. And that's the base 10 different perspectives. Next, please. Showing the surface. Next, please. Next, please. Next, please. Next, please. 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Next, please. OK, now this is back again. Now you see the circuits, and they're always in pairs. This is going 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5. Oh, no, come back. Prime numbers are fundamental to the most. OK. Is it changed by itself, or am I OK? OK. Going that way, it's following the curve. This is called the leading edge. This is called the trailing edge. It's like a fan blade. Again, it's focusing. All energy is always focused on the hub, which is the source. And then there's the 396,693, the gap space now. You always see it. You were used to 1 and 8. Here it is. Let's see, 1 and 8. 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But you're not used to seeing now multiples of, in this case, this is multiples of 4. 4, 8, 12. All the multiplication series have juxtapositioned themselves and switched to new multiplication series. It's mind-boggling. And I figured it out. I pieced it together. They say I have the most coherence ever done in mathematics. When you get the director of Microsoft, Russell P. Blake, Future Operating Systems, and I have a chapter on him later on in the papers he wrote on my work, to devote his life to your work, and that's advanced operating systems, you better have something incredible, incredibly good. So like on this we were using this model, which is 1 and 8 vertically, but I didn't explain to you that the horizontal axis was multiples of 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, because that's a 5. 2 5s is 10 is 1. Next number must be a 6. 3 times 5 is 15 is 6. 4 times 5 is 20 is a 2. 25 is 7. I have to make a private personal point to Indy over here. Indy, do you see why you complain to me and you say I am so repetitive about how I'm incessant about how I say I need that interactive whiteboard, right? But do you realize I can expand and contract? And didn't I say I needed it for the hologram? Do you see how differently I'd be teaching right now if I could had that where I could scroll in and out? You realize. So I'm crippled because these numbers are too little for them. They're just too little. But if I go look for multiples of 4, and I want to say 2 4s is 8, well, there's an 8. And 3 4s is 12 is 3. So my horizontal axis is 4 and 5. That's why that symbol was an X, Y, Z. Who would have ever thought that multiplication series are right angles of a 3D? 3D what? Yeah. And now you can't see the Z-axis because it's tangential. But remember, it's revealing itself by always the number that's there never moves. And the functions move. Here I'm going doubling. 4, 8, it's really being cleft. 16, 32. And the palindrome 396. And they're really nested vortices that are going in and out. They're compressing because they're eddy currents. Because when you stand at the side of a river, you see eddy currents. When you look at the air, eddy currents from smoke. This thing has eddy currents. The skin is excited. It's kinetic energy. This thing is dynamic. It's aerodynamic. I'm sorry, what?
There's also 10, 26, 50 too.
You got to speak loud for me.
This is 10, 26, 50 also, right? That's what.
Yes.
I don't understand. Oh, no, it works in that, but this is all, I didn't explain this that much. I kind of glossed over it. His question's great. No. There's a problem. Why this works so hard. Why doesn't everybody figure this out? Because there are 3 separate toruses, okay, that are following the same principles that actually combine. And in base 26, there's more.
Oh.
And I'm not showing base 26 or base. These are only, I put these 3 here because I don't expect to live forever or much too long. And I want you to have the complete information, so because my work's almost done. Your work's just beginning. And this is for base 10, which is all you really need to make energy and superconductors. This is all you need. These 3 toruses, and if you've seen what my team and people have done together with this and how it works. Anyway, this is a schematic for an energy machine. And the Rodin coil is famous for being an energy machine. Most people think it's crazy, and most people don't make it correctly. But anyway, I did the base 26 and the base 50, and my students did it for other reasons, or actually the discoverers, because it was actually a professor who figured out that the primes must be squared, but that's for another class and another day. But the reason I did it to ramp it up, to make it more powerful. I did this to design a spaceship that can go anywhere in the universe. And I actually was selected by Defense Science Magazine, by the editor, James Martin, to speak at Airspace America under Power and Propulsion Systems. And he said I had the most revolutionary propulsion system ever created for outer space. And I did it. And I had a wonderful time. And I spoke to thousands of nuclear physicists who were in the conference room. It was an auditorium bigger than here. And so my application, first application of this was space power propulsion systems. Pretty wild. OK, next, please. The most common type of encryption used today. Let's keep going. It's the RSA algorithm. Next, please. And again, thank you, everybody. I know this is kind of a bizarre class. Mathematical proof of omniscient being. Oh my friends, we shall not come again, but will conceal God's secret in his scriptures and his books, as bidden by one mighty and bounteous indeed. This is just a single line from a long poem. And why did I put that? Oh, my friends, we shall not come again, but will conceal God's secrets in his scriptures and his books. Because they didn't believe in that. It was a woman, and she was the maid of heaven, and she was bringing a revelation, and they mocked her and laughed at her, and she was beguiled. And she said, we're leaving, and we're concealing all this knowledge and secret in the books, in the scriptures, and that's where I got it. And remember, I told you that and this is how every letter has a number. So now you get to see how I did it. And so there's the letters, there's the translation, and then the silent and the letter. And they're powers of 10. So you have some as high as 1,000 and 900 and 800. And it's a part of religion and revelation. It is not superstitious. It has to do with the energy. Next, please. And you're lucky you got that, the abjad, because I could have easily left this out. And it's talking about the scriptures and languages. Next, please. But no subject is taboo for me. I don't worry about walking on eggshells. Keep going. There's kind of some stuff we just grabbed. Keep going, please. So we have gotten very far in this presentation. Anyway, this is a real serious one. It was underpinning nested vortices, or microvortices. This is probably as serious as you get. The nation that controls magnetism controls the universe. Next, please. That was the editor of James Tracy. And there's all the toruses and the base systems. So I guess we didn't show this yet, so they never saw it. There's the base 10. This is the groove, the gap space. Now watch what happens over here. We did a lot of work on this last night. Because that's the 39669 that goes with the binary code that nobody knows is so important. And I call it the gap space, or equal potential major groove. And see how I leave that big space there? That's for the eddy currents. That's for the flux fields, because this coil is a pinwheel. It's focused on here. Not like how other people do it today. Today it's so many turns and so many wraps, and they try and contain the magnetic field. That's not what I'm doing. OK, next, please. Thank you. That was a wonderful illustration. Lisa did a great job. OK, next, please. So I'm very kind of like a horse with blinders on. Zero viscosity Rodin coil. I'm really trying to show how to make coils, but you don't really say, well, what's so big about a coil? Well, every motor in the world is based on a coil. You couldn't have this room we couldn't see right now without it. OK. And this is base 26, the eye of the needle, toroidal pinch. So I don't make toroidal fields. Every coil that they're using to make electricity is called toroidal. The fields goes to the horizontal. God's coils go towards the vertical. They're poloidal fields. Poloidal pinch is at the primal point of unity is where spirit originates as it travels in a straight line along the w-axis. At the primal point of unity, everything inverts. The vortex renews, cleans, and purifies. And that's 4 conductors now instead of 2. Thank you. Next, please. And that work was actually done by one of my students, not by me. I did this one, the base 10, and then they just took it and advanced it. Base 26, radix 50, superluminal holographic hypersphere nozzles, blah, blah, blah. Lost it. Let's keep going. I'm sure it was fun. Radix 26.
Do you want to give them a good views of these?
Yeah.
Okay.
So just keep going. I want them to see them before we're out of here. Next, please. Matthew, I know we got to quit. I'm just showing them something.
That's cool. Are you still using the mic?
Yeah. Oh, no, the little mic, I'm not. Would you like it? It's right here.
Yeah, I thought we get it.
It was hurting the recording, they said. So they put me on a different one. I'm not going to throw it. Thank you very much. You didn't interrupt. Can you somehow give us a few extra minutes? But they said we're done. We're already past deadline. What can you do for us, Matthew?
Not me. You got to talk to Jerry.
Where's Jerry?
Right here.
Jerry, you're in charge. How much longer can I have?
We're going to let you go a little past 2.
You will let me go a
Yeah,
little past 2.
2:10, the video will end.
Okay.
Right about 2:10 will end.
2:10. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's very kind of you.
We're in 50.
So we have a half an hour.
So we can do the final part of the presentation. I hope.
Say that again for me.
I hope we can do the final part of it, the part with God.
Thank you.
50.
So this is base 50. There are 4 conductors. 6 conductors. 1, 2, 3 on this side of the gap. This is now the gap space. And there's 1, 2, 3 on this side. This came from 7. See the 7 right there, which is the prime? Spirit is emanating in multiples of 7. Before it was in multiples of 3. I know that's pretty wild. It has to do with the prime, and prime has to do with the spray. And the thing is this is the empty space right along here, and this gets longer but never wider. And this is the flux fields and the nested vortices, and these are each multiples of different series. And this pair matches this one over here in how it works, but a mirror of the multiple. The mathematics that are transpiring in this is so complicated. Thank heavens I have a team of expert mathematicians that have contributed to this. So thank you, Farron. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Scott. You know, there's a lot of Scotts out there. Okay, we'll continue. Next, please. Next, please. That's a higher base system. So prime numbers are fundamental to everything. Next, please. Next, please. Next, please. Next, please. That is amazing. Next, please. Next, please. I almost, when I did this work by hand, I did all my illustrations by hand, and it really, I wish I was exaggerating. It almost killed me. I would lose my voice at the end of the day. I couldn't talk. It'd take 30 minutes to be able to even say a word. It was so grueling on me. The Radix 10 CPU team. Oh, this is Russell Blake. Perfect algorithm software. It just goes on. Continue. Russell Blake, performance manager, advanced operation systems. So my work always derails everybody's lives and takes over, and he ended up devoting his life to this. He says if he'd met me, he would have said it was impossible. Anyway, it's an endorsement. He did the work. He discovered that my work was into the interior as well. In other words, the Rodin torus is 3-dimensional. We'll go quick. Next, please. I share these endorsements. I think he says, he goes on, he discovered atomic modeling. Now he says I wanted you to go that quick. I do want quick. He says, I'm completely convinced that the Rodin torus will lead to revolutionary advances in art and science and usher in a new age of technology surpassing those brought on by such inventions. So he says this is a bigger invention than the steam engine, the combustion engine, and the electric power generator. I'm about to show his resume, and you'll be blown away. And I'm used to this. Nobody gets this kind of endorsements. Nobody. There are a variety of revolutionary applications possible, and he goes on to that. since there's no iron core. And he's such a brilliant person. He said, because the field's perpendicular to the field, which conventional coils, to the field of conventional coils. That is a big sentence. And that's because it's colloidal. And colloidal is what you use for fusion. Next, please. So there's no question, and I'm not an engineer, but I'm to engineering this. This is a quote from him. He said, "This fantastic coherence has existed since the beginning of time, but is yet to be harnessed by mankind, and the potential is truly mind-boggling," he said. Russell Blake, Microsoft. So who is Russell Blake? Well, we know HP, Tandem, Solaris, Adaptive, Sun Microsystems, Microsoft Corporation. Okay, he is the build and lead the team for the operating system. He invented invent and co-develop Windows NT, create the Winstone industry standard benchmark, author of the book Optimizing Windows NT. He was the systems, this is his title, Systems Performance Manager, Advanced Operating Systems, 1088 from 993. Do you think I ever worry about getting endorsements or references? Don't need them. I don't got the problems that anybody else has. Sun Microsystems, Director of Operations, Software Division, because my student is a Director of Operations for software development. Architect and created a department to handle the software quality. This is kind of funny because it tells you what really happens inside when new technology evolves. He says he says to a department to handle software quality and release publications and facilities during explosive growth. That's why it's funny, because they started with 2 employees to 140 employees. Can you imagine that? The software industry. Did anybody ever know how big it's going to be? Develop software lifecycle process, work with AT&T to develop a unified version of Unix. This guy was on the ground floor of everything. He's on the ground floor of Vortex Based Mathematics. Adaptive Intelligence Corporation, Vice President. That's not of engineering. That's not. He's not punching a time card. Okay. Manage software, electrical, and mechanical engineering to complete the constructions of a high-precision assembly robot. Manage manufacturing facilities. It goes on. Solaris Computer, Vice President, Software Development. Recruit and manage a cohesive team of strong software professionals. It goes on. Tandem Computers, manage of software performance quality, future systems division, blah, blah, blah. Stop. You would think I would keep on going. I am not putting my references up because he does not want to be known. But there is a person here that I work with, not at this moment, because I'm not working with anybody at this moment until I get stabilized financially. But his references are as good or better than this in the field of biology. And he has figured out the secret of everything in the universe. He has put so many decades, I'm just quoting him, that's why I said everything, because that's what he said. He knows the secret of life. I haven't shown you how this relates to biology yet, microbiology. So there are other references, but we'll just keep going. I don't need to read it anymore.
He went to Antioch one morning.
Say it louder, please.
He went to Antioch. So
you saw that?
Yeah.
Antheon?
Antioch.
Ohio.
And where is that?
College in Ohio.
Great College?
Where free thinkers do their free thinking.
Oh.
He was a philosopher then. Philosophy major.
When I was over at his house in Hawaii, he showed me he had just done a sculpture, and it was I always say everything's funny. It's not funny. He was showing a picture of David, the prophet, I think, or I forget. No, Abraham. And he did a sculpture, and the sculpture was, the title, and he was explaining to me, he said God had just told him to circumcise himself. I mean, how would you react? He had taken that emotional and put it into a sculpture. The first man. She's telling me to keep moving. But that's kind of who would ever think of doing a sculpture?
I got you.
Okay, next. I don't even know what we're doing right here. The numerical formula for spirit. Oh, we're going to biology. Here we go. Next, please. There's DNA. See the big gap space? That's called the major groove. Then we'll have the minor groove. Spirit reticulates DNA. Evolution is not random chance. DNA's double spiral helix has a bioetheric template guiding evolution. I wish I was kidding. I'm not. There's the double helix, but no one ever models the third component, which is the bioetheric template, the flux field. There's the eddy currents, the nested vortices. I said it controls a spaceship, it controls DNA, it controls all information, sister strand unraveling, mitosis, cellular communication. I will read this because this is supposed to be what I'm really doing, my profession now. The higher dimensional 396693, little dots below, we were rating on. Show in red are responsible for DNA mitosis information encryption. DNA with the line compressing and decompressing underpinning nested vortices control amino acid and molecule cleavage and receptor sites. Spirit reticulates DNA. Evolution is not random chance. DNA's double spiral helix has a bioetheric template guiding evolution. Next, please. Yeah. That means that evolution is not haphazard trial and error. And the nested vortices on DNA align, while on the torus they are staggered. DNA's double spiral helix number map, spirits, 3966 active flux field shown in red and parts angle and ratio of DNA while controlling amino acid. Alignment of the underpinning nested vortices, world boundary condition, facilitates mitosis, sister strand unraveling, and duplication. Next, please. We're going to have a fun one in a second. This is it. I like this. This person's not alive anymore, this artist. Okay, he's in the world up above. And he took my funny symbol. Remember I said everything's about angle and ratio, and there's normally the 3 and 6. And he showed how DNA is matching what we've been looking at all along, the double spiral helix. And that's the 396693. God's pulsating apogee and DNA are one. Gene splicing, I probably would change that to God's, anyway. Gene splicing using polydrone 396693, flux field should be capped. Underpinning nested vortices ends all disease and grows unlimited food. Because it's the end of the presentation, we never got to making our corrections. This numerical formula for spirit is the key to age regression and life extension. I'm a little top heavy in the front and a little weak in the back. The tabernacle of unity. And this is scripture. And Randy likes this so much, and Randy's contributed so much, so out of consideration to Randy, I'm going to read it. And since he hath ordained, this is sacred scripture out of the religion, Bahá'í faith, because there's technology in our religion. And since he hath ordained heat to be the source of motion, and ascent the cause of attainment to the desired goal, he hath therefore kindled with the mystic hand that fire that dieth not, and sent it forth into the world. Is this wild? That this divine fire might, by the heat of the love of God, you know I believe in this. This is my religion. This is sacred Holy Scripture to me. He hath therefore kindled with the mystic hand that fire that dieth not, and hath sent it forth into the world, that this divine fire might, by the heat of the love of God, guide and attract all mankind to the abode of the incomparable friend. This is the mystery enshrined in your book, that was sent down aforetime, a mystery which hath unto now remained concealed from the eyes and hearts of men. This divine fire burneth of itself with neither fuel, this is Randy's favorite part, neither fuel nor fume, that it might draw away such excess moisture and cold as are the cause of torpor and weariness, of lethargy and despondency, and lead the entire creation to the court of the presence of the All-Merciful. Whoso hath approached this fire hath been set aflame and attained the desired goal, and whoso hath removed himself therefrom hath remained deprived. Baha'u'llah. He's approaching Baha'u'llah. And these are the scriptures that and no one can discuss this math with me unless they've learned the scriptures, because God has his own calculus language. Oh, could you go back to him? Because I want to show what those scriptures were. And that we actually reached the end of the whole thing? That's beyond belief. So we got the breath of the Spirit, that's Lisa's favorite, tablet of the Hori, tablet of the Virgin, O of the Dove, discourse of the temple, fire tablet, integration of his rapturing call. These are all sacred scripture tablets and epistles and missives and books. Tablet of the immortal youth, hidden words. I love the hidden words. Life force of God's throne, the 7 values and the 4 values. That's what I was memorizing, repeating to you. The long healing prayer. It's supposed to be imbued with special potency. Prayers and meditations, very beautiful, very thick. These are all Baha'i sacred scriptures. The Book of Surtu is how I became a Baha'i. I stayed up for 2 days and 2 nights reading it, didn't go to sleep because I know it's the most important thing in life. It's called progressive revelation. The most important thing is to recognize the sacred scripture, the book, the religion, the prophet for the time which you're living now. God passes by, the dawn breakers, that's the history of the religion, that's the history of the religion. God passes by, Baha'i Faith Glossary by Marjorie Gale, and Baha'iWorship.com. I'm going to put up all these scriptures as audiobooks eventually at that site. And that's a logo. Wait, I designed, if you go back to that, we should have it bigger. Could we have one next time of the Baha'i Falcon really big? For me big? That bird, I used the mathematical, that's my logo, times divide, plus and minus in a circle. All the mathematical functions combined together.
Would you like to go back to the Falcon?
Sure. And I have to tell you guys that I'm a little bit feeling bad. You're so supportive and so good, and I still feel that I didn't make my point thoroughly enough. Or prove my case accurately enough, if you can believe that. See how the 9 would be there, the 3 would be there, the 6 would be there, and the infinity, and that's where the Mobius, the primal point of unity, would be right there. It says Baha'i, the day of God. So I used it to design the logo out of crystals. And so it's a fountain of numbers. Thank you.
We did it. Yay!
Thank you.
You survived. You survived Marko.
Wow.
I don't know how you can survive me. Any questions? Everything was brought to bear to do this. No one asked a question, but I'll tell you the answer. There's endless kinds of miracles. Some never repeat. Some are unique. Some are a one-of-a-time kind of experience. You shouldn't wait around for them to happen again. You can have the sky open up. Angels come down in the clouds. You can have a voice speaking to you. You can have white light. Everything's real. It all works. And you have to remember you got to do everything. You got to do everything in life because we're so challenged as human beings to stay afloat, to pay the bills, to keep a roof over our heads, to eat. So all's fair in love. Everything's fair in this game to apply to this. And so, they say inspiration, they say everything is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. And so I told you I had that symbol when I was a teenager already. It took 24 years to get it to this, to figure it out. And I couldn't do it alone. I had to put together a team of experts, mechanical engineers, machinists, plasma physicists, to help me figure out what I discovered. I took that symbol and I said, it's in the scriptures. It says it makes unlimited energy. I said, make this thing for me. Figure out for me what this is. So I have to tell you that I've worn a lot of hats. There's a lot of people wearing other hats that have contributed to this. This is a huge, you could fill up the whole auditorium with all the people who've contributed to this. And so this work is its own reward. Every day is its own reward. And so I'm grateful to understand this and know this. And apply it in different ways, from saying the name of God to apply it to engineering. I didn't do this to overwhelm people. I didn't do this to convince people that I'm the smartest person on the planet, because I am obviously not. What I did do this for was to convince you that religion is not a four-letter word, that the Baha'i faith is authentic, the scripture is real, so as to be a springboard for you to investigate and read the scriptures, because most of you are not going to be engineers and make this and do this. One or two of you, probably not, but maybe, can make the next quantum computer based on this once you understand it, how the 396-693 works. It's all there. Once you understand what polarization is and emanation, how this explains it, when this explains how the underpinning nested vortices work, because that's how I navigate the nozzle. It's called a gimbal, typically, but I use... So anyway, you have the answers here. Now, I made very bold claims when I advertised this talk, because I wanted you to come. I wanted people to come. When I put that brochure up in the magazine, or on their website, you know, I was not on their roster. I was not invited to be here. A friend of a friend introduced me to the director, 2 weeks, I didn't know I would be in the continental US. I don't travel anymore. I don't have the strength. I get nothing done. But I had to be here. I had a court date, a legal problem. And so I had to come. And so I said, well, as long as I'm here, when I'm here, I stir up the waters. I become like a hornet's nest. People don't know that about me. And so my friend introduced me to the director. The director gave me this best spot, 11 a.m., because it's in the morning. But most people are already gone. This is Monday. The convention ended Sunday. So I was a guest. I wasn't in the email. I wasn't in the brochure. They stuck me on the website just 2 weeks ago at the back of it saying post-conference speaker. So you guys are special. For me, you're the elect. You're the invited because nobody knew this even existed. Okay, and I did this presentation because you never know when your moment's up and your life's over, and I wanted to preserve this. And this is by far the best documentation, the best presentation, the best images and graphics that have ever existed a millionfold on Vortex Based Mathematics so far. So, thank you. All done.
Marko, can I take a picture with you quickly, please? Can you snatch one?